Hello and welcome to this special 2 hours of America Le Mans Series season review brought to you by MotorsTV. The ALMS was born back in 1999, and for this year there are 9 races on the calendar. We're going to relive the highlights from each one of them. We're going to take you first to round 1, which was held on March 20th, the legendary 12 Hours of Sebring. And in just a few seconds, the pole sitters for each category will introduce themselves. So sit back and enjoy 2 hours of American Le Mans Series season review.
Hi, I'm JJ Lehto, driving for car number 38, ADP champion Audi, with Marco Werner and Emanuele Piero.
Marino Franchitti, Edinburgh, Scotland, driving with Derek Hill and Andy Lally in the number 8 Rand Racing Lola.
Hi, I'm Johnny O'Connell, driving with Ron Fellows, Max Pappas, all of us in the number 3 CompuWare Chevrolet Corvette.
Hello, I'm Timo Bernhard. I'm driving the number 23 McKenna Melton Webb Alex Joe Porsche GT3 RSR together with Jörg Bergmeister and Sascha Maaßen.
Second running of the Mobil 1, 12 Hours of Sebring, and Leto pounces to the front immediately. We're underway here at Sebring. James Weaver in the 16 Dyson Lola looks on the inside, and he splits the 2 Audi UK cars.
Wow, James Weaver is in that lighter, nimble car. He does have the horsepower. It's a little 4-cylinder, turbocharged engine, though, against the might of the Audi R8 that we have seen so dominant in this endurance racing in years past.
I drove with James so long with this team. He is a bulldog at the start. He likes to get the job done right now.
It's champion Audi leading the first of 2 Audi UK cars for Team Velox. Then it's the Dyson car. And here are cars that were stuck in the pits, and that is Danny Sullivan in the Ferrari 575. And he gets released with the J3 Racing Porsche. That's their second entry, the 78. And that's frustrating, starting from pit lane.
And it is great to see Danny Sullivan back here at Sebring, but this team really has had its work cut out for them all weekend long here. The parts, the crates from Europe, from Italy, did not arrive in time to build this car properly, so they begged, borrowed, and stole from anybody they knew here to just get this car on the racetrack.
Good news for Danny is the racetrack is a very long racetrack, and he being this far behind is really not going to be in any danger right away being a lap down, and you have to assume we'll have a yellow sooner or later. So he doesn't need to beat the car to death right now. He just needs to run a comfortable place.
Before the pit lane closed, this team did not manage to make it out onto the start line. So just like Formula 1, if you don't get out on time, you have to start from the pit lane behind everybody.
Back up front, it's JJ Leto, Alan McNish, James Weaver. They're coming down the end of the Ullman Straight through the very, very fast turn 17 to come around and complete the first lap of many to come. What will this day hold in store? And can champion make amends for that, well, that harsh finish last year where they led this race, they dominated this race for the majority of the 12 hours, only to see victory slip away. We ride with JJ now.
Now, for those of you who have not seen this onboard camera before, this shows you just how violent these cars are. Just take note of JJ Leto's arms as he goes through the high-speed corners, and his head, particularly in the braking zone. And Dorsey, you know what it's like as you drove this exact racing car.
The braking of these cars is so phenomenal. Look at him compress. Look at his helmet go down. He's actually just submarine down into the bottom of the cockpit of the car, because you can't hold yourself, even with the belts tight, you cannot hold yourself from going down as these things stop.
Tremendous lineup in the champion team. Marco Werner, the reigning ALMS champion. Of course, he and Frank Bieler split this year. That'll be a little foreign to those guys. And Emanuele Piero stepping back in, a former ALMS champion himself. So 3 very, very strong drivers.
Dorsey, you know just how much this head's going to compress at the end of this long track. It's 175 miles an hour down here, and then he stands on the brake zone.
He'll be up into the top gear shortly. Take a look at the height of his helmet right there. And when he gets on the brakes, watch what happens to his head here. 2-3 inches of compression. Let me tell you what your spine feels. I can tell you, I feel it from here.
So it's nice and clear at the moment, but this is a very rare occasion in American Le Mans Series racing where you have a clear track ahead, because traffic is one of the key factors. As we move back in the field, we ride with the McKenna Porsche for Alex Job Racing. The team to beat in GT this year, but boy, the list is long of those who want to line up and take a shot. Timo Bernhard leads the class at the moment, currently runs 17th.
And although they started on the pole, they didn't qualify this car on the pole because the banned car was actually sent to the back for a minor infraction also, because they did a super job with that car, with Rockenfeller, another one of Porsche's young German drivers that came over. But this is your leader currently in this GT, this so competitive GT category.
And although it doesn't look like it's bucking around as hard as the P1 car we looked at, remember, inside this Porsche is over 150 degrees, and it gets so uncomfortably hot you can't touch anything.
It's an interesting setup with these guys, because Timo Bernhard and Jörg Bergmeister very much had to play the bridesmaid position to Sasha Nass and Lucas Luhr over the past year, particularly last year. But now they step up. Nass and Luhr are focusing on activities in Europe this year, so it's really Timo and Jörg's turn to be in the limelight. But they're going to be chased and pushed hard by this young guy, a young American, the Californian Patrick Long. Whoa, there's a bit of scrapping going on behind. But Patrick steps into a full-time role with the Racers Group, the New Century Mortgage team, and he is a Porsche factory driver, has come straight from the Carrera and Porsche Super Cup in Germany, and big things are expected of him. And right, that car you can see coming up in the background very, very quick is the 63. That is Jeff Giangrandi's Saleen for Asemco Motorsports, and Terry Borchella, a former class champion in the ALMS, storming through from the back of the field. He spun in qualifying. They had to change tyres, and you are not allowed to do that. You cannot go back out and post a better time. You have to start on the tyres you qualified. If you change, you go to the back, and that's what happened.
There'll be no contest, as right now they're coming on the back straightaway. That Saleen V8 is going to muscle by this Porsche here. Goodbye. Here he comes.
And I have to think that Saleen is just not a developed racing car yet, because that is in the same class as the Corvettes, yet it cannot run near as fast. But I have to believe that with further development, this Saleen Dorsey, with the weight ratio, with the engine being in the middle, although they are restricted quite a lot with the air restrictors, that has to be a very fast racing car for the GTS class.
It will be very quick, and when they get it right, there's no question it'll be one of the ones up in the front. But in the meantime, you're racing up against the Corvette factory team, and that car is so well prepared. It's going to be hard to beat that.
Well, exactly. You're talking about the might of General Motors versus one man's vision, Jeff Giangrandy. And this is this car's first race meeting. Brand new car, brand new effort, 7-litre powered Ford. We ride now with our GTS class leading car. This is Ron Fellows. Shoulder has been operated on. He says it's feeling great. We've already lost car 19. That's tough. That's one of our P2 cars who's been in contact with the Car Sport America Viper down there in turn 17.
Got the back end of that knocked off. He's right by pit in. I'm sure he's going to take advantage.
Yeah, the Viper actually, unofficially, was our fastest qualifier in the GTS class also, but it was deemed to have, you see heavy damage on the left rear, deemed to have air restrictors that were not the correct size. Ooh, that was a no-no. This, Dorsey, we mentioned this at the top of the show. You can't trip over traffic that are in different classes, and we see that here. A P2 car gets in contact with one of the GTS cars.
Absolutely, and we say that all the time. If you're running a second a lap faster than anyone in your class, that's a heck of a lot. But if you make one mistake like this, he's going to be in there several minutes. You'll never be able to catch him.
Jean-Philippe Belloc in the Car Sport America Viper, and that was the Van der Sar Racing P2 car that we saw come to rest off the track.
Look here, he's damaged the diffuser underneath the car. You see it's good on one side, not on the other. They'll have to address that as well.
And you saw the mechanic that give the classic. No way. There's something serious here. Calvin?
Well, they're underneath the car. They're trying to get to the bodywork first, Derek, but there's a man underneath the right corner as well. They must have some kind of suspension damage, but this Viper was really the story at the end of the race last year. Remember, we had Jeff Altenberg behind the car. He had some damage. The thing would only turn in one direction, and they certainly made a show of things at Sebring last year, and they're doing it again here early. So the races duct tape always comes in handy, but with 12 hours to go almost, it's going to be a long day for this driver.
They weren't expecting to do that early, were they? Here is car 3, the GTS class-leading car, and look at how quickly the 4 has carved through the field. Terrific job by Oliver Gavin, who set the qualifying time and put it on pole in the GTS qualifying session, then got sent to the back for a technical infraction. But talk about a star-studded lineup. Oliver Gavin, Olivier Beretta, 2 times GTS champion, and then, of course, teaming up with those guys, the incredibly quick Jan Magnussen.
That's unbelievable to come from the very back in 4 laps and catch your teammate who's leading the class.
And you mentioned it earlier, Dorsey. You said American muscle car. This is the epitome of the American muscle car. This thing is an animal. It has so much horsepower. It has such good handling. There's 3 or 4 years of really good development in this car. They've picked the best drivers. This is tough to beat here. But you can hear the sound of that V8 engine.
I'll tell you what, they switched to Michelin tires this year. They're 2 seconds a lap quicker because of that alone. But not only is that troublesome for the competition, but also these tires stay under the car longer.
Guys, I just spoke with Doug Meehan, the project manager. I said, how fast do you let Oliver go? He got 12 hours. He said, he's just running a comfortable pace. However fast he wants to go, if it's comfortable, we'll let them run it. But, man, what a pace he's putting down.
It's one of the big off-season news stories that the 2 drivers they've plugged in here, in fact, 3 new drivers that they've plugged in, but the 2 for the Endurance Series, Jan Magnussen and Max Pappas. Of course, Max is with this car, Ron Fellows, Johnny O'Connell, and Mad Max. Olivier Beretta, who has very, very close ties with Michelin, will bring a lot to this team in terms of his knowledge of those tires, but he has never raced a Corvette before, so he's new on that front.
And remember, that is a prototype car he's chasing. That is the Lewis Dreesy Rice prototype car that he's chasing, the Riley and Scott. So the Corvette has every bit as much horsepower. And Dorsey, you said, Max Pappas told me this morning, braking in this car is almost as late as he braked in the Pano's LMP car, the prototype car last year.
This is a very well-developed chassis, no question about it. Very high-tech. And I talked to Johnny O'Connell as we look at Max Pappas right there. He said this is a wonderful car to drive. Don't think it's as heavy as it really is.
Lato leads the way from McNish, Herbert, James Weaver. Top 4 there. In fact, Herbert has now got ahead of James Weaver. Joao Barbosa for Roll Center Racing, the Dallara Judd. Plenty to talk about there. That's a great effort for a new car for an existing team from the UK. John Field is 6th. Then it's Wilson, Chris Dyson, Christophe Bouchou, and Tommy Dreesy rounds out the top 10. And the Corvette of Ron Fellows chasing Dreesy, as Derek mentioned.
And come on, Doug Feehan says we're letting Gavin run a nice, comfortable pace. He's running over 1.5 seconds faster than Ron Fellows as you look at our prototype 2 leader.
New car, new engine. This is an exciting combination, Dorsey.
Yeah, these cars are new, but again, built to a very light standard. They're really going to have to work on these cars to get them to be good over all the rough terrain that they got to run on here at Sebring.
And this is Clint Field. He's a boy. Well, he was when he started. I think he was just 16 years old when his dad threw him into a sports car this fast. Hard to believe, Lee, you mentioned it earlier, that at 20 years of age, you have had 4 years experience in a car this fast.
And I'll tell you something, he makes very little mistakes. You don't see him, even when he first started, I was pretty impressed. Not a lot of spins, not a lot of bad decisions in traffic.
And he's very pleased to have a regular co-driver, the same co-driver for the whole year. Bill Binney teams up with him, and they've got Rick Sutherland, who's a regular visitor to the Intersport team. He's the 3rd driver here today, but it'll be Clint Field and Binney the whole year long. And when we say it's a new car, of course it's not a new car, it's development, but this is a new car from Lola for these guys and new Judd engine. And this had the rest of the P2 field shaking a little bit when they saw the power of this car.
Good shot at the back of it right there, how stiffly sprung it is. Back tires were actually coming off of the pavement on those bumps.
And that is not black paint. That is carbon fiber. They did not have time to even paint this racing car that is pure carbon fiber you look at there on this Lola. But for those of you technically minded, you'll hear the noise, the familiar sound of the Judd V10 engine. A lot of people think that may be the most powerful engine here at Sebring this weekend.
Marino Franchitti is following. He is second in Pin 2. And Mike Fitzgerald in the second Rand car runs third in this class. And we will expand on that because you've obviously noticed the change in terms of terminology. Last year we were calling it LMP or P900 and P675. It's now P1, P2. We will explain why throughout this show. You're watching the Mobil 1, 12 hours of Sebring. We're up and running. There's a long way to go. It's going to be a fabulous day. Stick around. Teammates out on track, Frank Wheeler, Marco Werner. It's the Audi UK team and the champion team going hard at it. Jamie Davis in the second Audi UK car still sits third, and then we have Andy Wallace up to fourth. Jan Lammers fifth. The two Dyson cars now running in the top five. As you ride with Werner, second place, you look at the lead car. But hey, listen, your cars, while one is in pit lane, the 20 it is. Great to see both cars still in the race. Last year we had a very unfriendly term for you. We said it was the 12 minutes of Sebring instead of the 12 hours of Sebring. You had a tough run last year, although your son Chris ended up winning the 675 class in the end. But this year going much better for you.
So far, yes, it's Didier Duradigas who's in the 20 car. These guys are terrific.
Here we go, the battle for the lead. Marco Werner, Frank Wheeler, the teammates at it, and they go through. The former teammates fighting it out, and the champion out is back in the lead. Through traffic they come. You ride with Frank Wheeler. Oh, he gets squeezed a little.
Go ahead, hit him.
Not really, but he got squeezed a lot in that corner. It's easy to have happen to you there.
That was Sasha Masson in the Alex Joe Porsche that squeezed Wheeler, and that was costly time-wise. It allowed Marco Werner to skip away.
Riding on board right now, cutting into the hairpin. Listen to this thing accelerate.
It's pretty effortless effort what they've done here. They've made it very driver-friendly, very easy to run these cars hard. Plus, they've done such terrific work on the endurance aspect of it. They're proven cars. I mean, they're going for a fifth win here, and we're trying to do everything.
Here's Butch Leitzinger, and Cal is there.
Well, they go to the back of the car, they refueled it, no tires have gone on yet, but now we're at the point they can do service on the car, so some kind of problem. Now, the team has really done a lot of work over the winter period, and Rob will attest to this. They've done about 1,500 miles of testing here at Sebring alone. They've beefed up the car, the underbody, and that starter-nator issue they had last year, they've revamped that and split the two. But they go to the left corner there, pointing us to some suspension pieces down here. And this is one of the things about this very rough and tough Sebring track. It's really going to test the durability of this little machine.
I think what they're checking is, whoop, come on, boys. I think what they're checking is the turbo. We've been having a little bit of problem with the turbo feeds. That fire didn't do anything. It's just a spurt of oil and some hot.
Well, I also see some fluid right here. Well, right now the guy's head's in the way, but right up right there. What is up in there that would be leaking out?
It wouldn't be coming.
Right next to it. It's on the top of the catch can everywhere.
See, look at here. See it?
Yeah, I see it, but I'm not sure where that would be coming from.
We're talking about right now oil.
Something draining in a cup. Losing loads of engine oil here. Lost probably 2 inches in the tank.
We might have a split oil fitting.
Peter, take it behind the wall.
That was Chris.
Yeah, okay. Okay, drop the car. We'll move it behind the wall.
That was Chris or
Peter, you want me to drive it?
When we say Chris, we're talking about...
We have to go that way. But a lot of people reverse back. Do we have to go down?
Now they're trying to work out which way to go down.
Get it out of here. Okay, let's move it down. Drop it down and move it back.
That fire on this corner.
Fire.
You got fluid coming out of the back under the gearbox. It's the vent line for the gas tank, probably. All right.
They're on it. It's disconcerting. The 16 car, it always is the quickest, but around here, I mean, historically, Dorsey and I have done this race several times, and the 20 car keeps running, hopefully. The 16 car never ceases to amaze me how at this track, the 16 car always ends up like this.
That will now elevate the 20 with Didier de Radigues to 4th as the 16 gets pushed behind pit wall. I'm sure you're anxious to get down there and find out what's going on. Thank you for joining us here.
Thanks, guys. Hey, look, it's great to have Speed Vision doing all the programming, and I hope we have a little luck and we can put one across on this one.
There he is.
So thanks for having me, and it's great to be here. Nice weather.
Take care,
Come on, my best. Dorsey, good seeing you, buddy.
Rob Dyson there, team owner, the car that we just saw and heard that wonderful radio communication. Not wonderful for the Dyson boys, though. They got problems. We go back with our race leader, Marco Werner. He's pulled out 2.5 seconds on his old teammate, Frank Bieler. So you've got the reigning champions for the American Le Mans Series running 1 and 2.
So we are back underway, our first full course yellow, and just look at the champion, number 38 Audi. Marco Werner behind the wheel absolutely ran like a scalded cat. Last year he had similar tendencies, so champion have never won this event here in this car. Marco Werner, if he's had to do with it, with his former teammate Frank Bieler chasing him, is going to make things for the opposition just as hard as possible. Derek, this Audi is just such an impressive. I know you had a short drive in it, not as much as you wanted, but this is an impressive motor.
Oh, it looked like he got a bit wide.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, understeer.
He came a little bit too heavy. Of course, with this, remember, the brakes haven't been used for a few laps, so as he got going there, it's the first time he'd really braked hard, and they probably weren't as efficient as they should have been. Of course, he didn't slow down. But he did. Oh, he's done it again, look. You see that those brakes always going to damage that front splitter if he's not careful. Take it really easy.
Where's Bieler?
Well, nobody's in sight. Where are they? He's had such a lead. That's why he should have got the message at the hairpin that there was a little bit of a problem slowing it down.
Huge mistake. Huge mistake. That could be so costly.
Actually, he might have a problem. But
now Bieler right behind him. Right behind him. Sticks his nose to the outside.
What you got?
Not Bieler, sorry, Jamie Davies.
What you got to remember is that he's got. Oh no, it looked like he had the same problem. I think what you got to realise is, of course, there's a lot of sand got inside that Audi bodywork and then showers itself out on the tyres at the next corner. But it does look like he has a problem. Having just said how this team have never won the Sebring 12 Hours, it's a long way to go. But you know, I would say he has a problem with his brakes, and he's trying to overcome it and trying to fathom out just how far he can go in the corners on the brakes.
And you know that Bieler must have had a similar problem, because he was second. Now he is behind these two cars, because it was Jamie Davies that has now gone into the lead. Wow, we don't often talk about any type of problem with these Audis. Oh, he hit him. He touched him just on the way in. Little clip. Wow.
Well, I think Mr. Werner might have a go at him later and get him back for that.
And we are only 3 hours and 15 minutes into this race. The Audis are leading it, but they have no team orders here between all these boys. Here, another look again. Derek, I think you said it correctly. Obviously, braking troubles.
It's coming down. I mean, you can't see anything. Well, there's a bit of, just a little bit of lock up there, with smoke coming out the back. He was very lucky not to damage the car. And what you don't know, and Bieler gets by just soon after that. And, of course, then he goes off again at the next turn when he brakes. And that's when actually Bieler did get by.
Marco Werner has a broken finger on his left hand.
He's being very, very cautious, isn't he?
Paddle shifting, just like a Formula One car, so you never see him take his hand from the steering wheel.
Whoa, a bit of opposite lock there. It's one of these situations you get in, don't you, Derek? You get out there and you do something with the brakes and it doesn't want to stop, and then you drive through a corner, you get a bit of opposite lock, and you go, what is going wrong here? And it totally undermines your confidence, and you just can't drive until you get that rhythm back, because driving these cars well is to have a real rhythm and confidence.
And everything warm, everything working properly. Now, what we don't know is whether Werner did any damage to that front splitter, because the front splitter is a key to the downforce on the racetrack. JJ Late is watching. He did a double stint earlier, remember, saw the car go back into the lead. So he's watching our live feed on Speed Channel. And here it is again. Look. Boom.
What you have to look, if you may look at that picture, the splitter on the champion car was hitting the ground. A lot of sparks were coming off his car, which lets you believe he damaged something underneath when he went off, Derek. Pulled it down on the road.
There it is, another good look there. Now, there are rubbing strips underneath on both sides of the leading edge at the front of that splitter, so we're just going to keep a good close eye to see is there any damage. But I'm going to tell you, Derek, how many times have you watched these Audis make contact with other cars, make contact with concrete walls, and they're built like Sherman tanks. I mean, these things seem to bounce off people and go off the road and still not break enough sufficiently to slow them down.
They are amazingly strong, but let's not forget Sebring is a very, very demanding circuit on driver and car. And when you have a problem, the sort of problems he's had twice in 2 corners, you lose confidence. And I did say this before, but it's the confidence factor that you have to get back again, which he obviously normally has immense confidence, but he's not used to having these moments off the road.
Jamie Davies, who is leading, is now 3.3 seconds ahead, so he's beginning to pull away. There he is right there, top of your picture. Beginning to pull away from Marco Werner, and the number 4 has retired.
And as the corner workers attend to the ailing Dyson car along the side of the track, we've reached the 3-hour and 45-minute mark of the race, with 8 hours and 15 minutes still left to be run. And now we'll send you back to the original commentators for the rest of the 12 hours of Sebring.
This is a very, very important and key part of the race, Derek, because we had contact with the second-placed Audi, and it was going into turn 1. This is a 175 miles an hour approach.
That's right. He was sort of the car on the outside and was giving him room, but then pulled in. It was rather a silly move. 79 gave him, Brian Cunningham gave him the room, and then came back and pinched him. And it was sitting, and of course it's damaged the whole side of the number 38 champion Audi, who's still yet to win this race.
There is significant damage on the right side of that Audi. It has peeled back a piece of bodywork that looks about 2 or 3 feet long that covers the outside of the radiator, so no doubt during a driver change they'll have to do significant changes. Brian.
Derek, peel is the right word, because when he's came in here, he's up against pit wall. It's hard to see, but that bodywork is literally rolled back down the side like a tuna can. The problem is there is a radiator right there where that bodywork is broken, and the concern is, did he hold the radiator? Is there a minute hole? That could be a huge concern. They're going to push him back a little bit here and see if they can do some work on the car. Pushed him back out of his space. They're seeing what they can do, but a huge setback for this champion team. Chris.
Down here with the 88, Jamie Davies is getting that car out already. There's no driver change there. He came in, very quick fuel stop. He took the car back out, checked in with the team a little while ago. They're very excited about how well Jamie is doing. He doesn't have a lot of endurance experience compared to some of the guys here in this Audi team, and he's going really quick. Also, driver change between Frank Vila and Pierre Capper.
Thank you, Chris. One of our storylines at the top of the show was, can champion be champion? Brian?
So disappointing. They have pushed the car back behind the wall where the mechanics can work on it. They can put more guys on the car here. Front has come off, the rear has come off, but you can see the radiator. It's moving around. It's been broken off of its brackets, and I can also tell you, as I look down it, it is no longer square. It's been bent, and that has to be a concern. Don't forget, these radiators are pressurized, and there's a lot of pressure on the inside. Any bending of it, any fracturing of that metal at all, if it weakens it, if it fatigues it under pressure, it could give way, and that would obviously end the day of this Audi.
Well, when you have problems like this, I doubt you're going to beat those lead Audis. Derek, here it is again.
Now look, you see, the white car, the 79 car, is out quite wide, and then suddenly it doesn't look like Jamie actually made. I suppose he did come out a bit, but he didn't really make much of a move out on the 79. The 79 was way out wide, saying, after you, Claude, you go through, and then he drove straight back across him, I thought. But maybe the 38 was easing out a little bit.
Surely Brian Cunningham did not see the car on the inside, because he hit him such a whack.
Yeah, to do all that damage, it had to be quite a whack, because it came from, like, driving into it from the outside, not from the inside.
Yeah, so Marco Werner, who did so well, certainly in his first stint on this, now finds the car behind. They've done a driver change, but now finds the car behind the wall to try and repair this bodywork on the outside. But there is serious damage to the champion Audi. The chances of champion becoming champion is now very slim. Don't go wrong.
Welcome back, Sebring live on Motors TV. Alan McNish still leading for Velux Racing Audi Sport UK from JJ Leto, the ADT champion Audi, and Rob Barth at the helm of 22, the Roll Centre Racing Delara Judd. Let's pick up the action with our Speed Vision colleagues.
We're back at the Mobil 112 Hours of Sebring. Here is a quick recap. Johnny Herbert in the number 88 Audi R8 begins to smoke very badly. It was obvious that it was not coming from the engine, from the center of the exhaust, as it turns out. In fact, it was a gearbox problem that has sent him behind the wall. He is still there. Then Alan McNish almost loses it on the oil that Johnny Herbert dropped down. Then the Prototype 2 class leader, this is Willman, loses his rear wing and half of his rear bodywork. He is the leader, was the leader at this stage in Prototype 2. Nothing to do but come in, assess the situation. They have also gone behind the wall. Meanwhile, Alan McNish is now 7 laps clear. He, along with every other leading car, has had trouble this afternoon. Not much trouble for this car, but they have had contact. Dorsey, I mentioned it earlier, McNish just has a very fluid way, it appears, of dealing with traffic in particular.
And that comes a lot with confidence, and it also comes a lot with the amount of time and testing he did, although that was on an earlier R8, not this particular R8, but he's very comfortable. You can see that. One of the things I love about watching Alan is how well he reads traffic. He sees the flow of what's going on in front of him, and he just blends right through it like it wasn't there.
And you might think that these teams just turned up a couple of days ago. They've been here for more than 10 days, some of these teams. Testing started way back on March the 11th. Some of the cars had big incidents, like the BAM car on March 12th. That was when it had its big crash. The Audi team ran Friday and Saturday of last week in preparation. So this has been a long testing and racing stint here in Florida for many of these teams.
And it's a testament to the engineers that you can ride on board with Alan right now and realize that this is not, a big accident here. The Viper is nosed into the tire wall, quite deeply into the tire wall, and that's in turn 17A, the beginning at the end of the longest straightaway.
Yeah, that's our GTS class. That is the ESP Pirelli Shaw Dodge Viper, the GTS car. Weikart, John Phillip, and Keith Allen. And that obviously gives us a full course yellow immediately. That is a dramatic looking accident, completely buried under those tires. Let's have another look, Dorsey, at what might have happened here. Tom's out of the car.
That's a good thing. 170 miles per hour, locked up solid, can't turn.
Wow. Oh!
Man, that's a big hit.
Look how good a job those tires did. Driver is out. Thankfully, Tom is safe, but there is nothing that absorbs energy in a wayward racing car than these tires. They look old-fashioned sometimes, but they absorb enormous amounts of energy. You can see the bonnet just torn off completely. And Tom from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I bet you that was a huge scare, because when you realize you're going off the road, he did not know whether that was a concrete wall right behind those tires or whether there was multiple rows of tires that would absorb all that energy.
And that's the Hans device he's taking off. Look at this thing right here. It's a great big rubber band, if you will. Great big heavy rubber, and it's gauged and it's screwed together into those tires so the tires can't separate when you hit them. It's done its job today.
In fact, it is just like a conveyor belt. But the number 72 car was running in 32nd position overall. Wow. Dorsey, is that a brake loss?
Well, it could be a brake loss, definitely. You know, we saw a little smoke early, and they weren't locked up, were they? I mean, the tires were not skidding.
Welcome back, Hardy fans, staying live for the 12 hours of Sebring with us on Motors TV across Europe and, of course, with Speed across the USA. Let's get back to the action and pick up the action. Dorsey Schroeder in the booth, but the first you'll hear Derek Daly.
We're back, and the sun beginning to go down behind the trees here at the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring. And as you can see here, this is the people that Dorsey Schroeder brought with him to party at his motorhome. And it's just about to start. Yeah. The fun is just getting underway. And while we look over the shoulder of Alan McNish, I want to just take a moment here to introduce you to Pat DiDomenicis. Did I do that right?
That's better than I do it.
He is the Mobil 1 Racing Motorsports Manager of the Americas, and of course he has enjoyed us saying the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring here all day long. And I understand the good news from ALMS standpoint is you've just signed an extension to the contract.
Yeah, we just signed a deal with the Speedway to go to 2006, and we're extremely happy to be here. It fits.
Now, I know the Corvette is sponsored by Mobil. Do you use racing as a form of a test bed, Pat?
Most of our development of the products come out of racing, just like safety comes out of everything from seat belts to harnesses to roll bars. Our product development, especially with Mobil 1 Super Sin, that product's 30 years old. It was our anniversary this year, and we're like the leading synthetic in the world. So our test bed is racing. Everything's coming out of there.
I know I read not too long ago about the McLaren Formula 1 team that's also a Mobil supported team, that they actually monitor the inside of the engine by the condition of the oil that they examine after every session.
It's a lot easier than taking the engine apart.
It is, yeah.
Yes, they do a pretty good job with it. They basically analyze the oil, and they can tell by everything from metal content, do some infrared, and tell what's going on inside the engine.
Okay, Pat, have you enjoyed the day?
It's not over yet, right?
Record crowd.
Record crowds. The sun's been out. The weather's been good. The racing's good.
I see Mobil 1 just about on every billboard around the place here.
That makes me happy.
That makes you happy. You going to stay up for the whole event?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
We'll be here all the way
You're
through.
a race fan?
Oh, big time.
Love to hear it.
Yes.
Pat, thanks for coming to join us here in the commentary box.
Thank you.
We might not have, we haven't a fight on our hands in the front of the field yet, but you know what? From what we've seen so far, you never know how close you are to trouble, as we've seen for these Audis.
Derek, one lap ago, let me tell you, we had an incident down in turn 17. Watch this. Coming down into the passing lane, into turn 17, the braking zone. Watch them split this Porsche. They come around. It's 17A that they're in. Wow, watch right here now. Watch. Oh! The two get together. That's McNish and J.J. Lato making contact in what is a really dangerous part of the racetrack. So they're getting after it.
Let's have another look from Alan McNish's point of view now. So he's on the inside. Champion cars on the outside. Oh, look at this. He said, use your head, JJ. Use your head.
JJ could have followed him along. Instead, he split the Porsche. He went around the outside, and Alan wasn't ready for that. McNish makes contact and didn't like it.
And J.J. Lato was 6 laps down. He is now 5 laps. Well, he's 5 and almost 6 laps down, but he has now made up one of his laps, which was his mission, of course. But Alan McNish points to his helmet and said, use your head, J.J. That is the second time that McNish's Audi has been hit. They changed the bodywork earlier on in the race, but we got to have, I think, one more look, Dorsey, because people don't realize just how close these cars get.
Look at Lato goes around, and McNish is going to come together right there under the bridge. Bam! That could have put both cars out, Derek, easily.
And they actually did make contact, side-to-side contact. Lato, I suppose, gets a bit of personal satisfaction, but this car lost the 6 laps because of an incident earlier. And J.J. Lato, believe it or not, as the sun goes down, we are almost 8 hours into this race, and J.J. Lato just did the fastest lap of the race. He's in the 49s, 1 minute 49.4, the only man so far today to break the 1 minute 50-second barrier. So J.J. Lato's on a mission, but he's got a lot of laps to make up on McNish.
at the second round of the American Le Mans Series here at Mid-Ohio. There's been drama at the head of the field as Marco Werner has been in an accident with Ian James, the second place car in P2. So the P1 second place and P2 second place cars have got together. That's put Ian James into the pit lane with some damage, and Graham Tyler is there.
Thanks, John. Yeah, the damage is to the rear wing. It's the upper plane of this two-plane rear wing. It's almost like a gurney flap, but a little more substantial, and it's completely sheared at the left-hand side of where it joins the end plate. So at the moment, they're not doing anything with that other than maybe trying to look to remove it altogether. Meanwhile, they've refueled the car. Ian James is staying in, and they're now doing the tyres and wheel change, and that'll happen before any more attention is made to the rear wing. That's now coming on board, and it's just going to be, I think they're going to remove that top plane altogether. Knowing the team to be not that heavily financed, I imagine they may have problems just fitting a new one very quickly. So they may send him on his way, try and effect a repair, and then bring him back in at the next scheduled stop and replace that rear wing altogether.
That incident occurring at the carousel, the final corner here of the 13 or 15, depending on which configuration. We're running the 13 configuration this weekend, although we still tend to call that turn 14 and 15, the carousel and the left-hander onto the main straight. Basically, Marco Werner trying to go around the outside, didn't have the room. Marco's car, we've been watching very carefully, seems to be relatively undamaged by that incident. Meantime, in GT, the battles down the field continue, and the Ferrari, who looks racy at the moment, right up the tailpipes of Mark Lieb. Ralph Kellen is in the red Ricci Ferrari. This is the battle for fourth position in the GT category, and there's barely a Porsche's width between them at the moment, as Mark Lieb, struggling with that notchy gearbox, as Graham Tyler reported to us earlier from the pit lane, is struggling now to hold on to that position, and very, very late on the brakes is Ralph Kellen is, but can the Porsche go around the inside for the next corner? He's got the turn, he's going to have to give it up surely, and it does do. Discretion, I think, there from Mark Lieb, certainly being the better part of Valor, but how late was Ralph Kellen is on the brakes in that Ricci Ferrari?
Ralph Kellen has waited until he had no other choice. He was going to make the pass, or he was going to collect the Porsche. He drove the number 35 car to the inside through the first part of that corner in the S's. The second part of the corner, once again, Mark Lieb was trying desperately to stay side by side, but the Ralph Kellner's shut the door. If Mark Lieb didn't want to get out of the gas of the Porsche or touch the brakes, I'm not sure which one he did to the varying degrees. The bottom line was he had to slow the car down, otherwise he would have got his nose cut off by that door.
That car, as we mentioned, the McKenna Porsche Alex Job racing machine, with some problems in the gearbox, described as notchy by the team to Graham Tyler earlier on, which is a bit of a worry as it's a sequential box. They were the first team, of course, to use and develop the sequential box. It's been further developed this year in the RSR as Kellen is locked up going into the keyhole. A very nasty bump there just as the guys turn in to that right-hander, and very easy to get the tyres locked up. Ralph not losing too much time on that as he did so. This the battle that we're talking about for fourth position in the GT category. Ahead of these two cars, the Ferrari and the Porsche, are three more Porsches. David Murray for the number 31 squad, that's the White Lightning machine. Then Darren Law in the lead Flying Lizards Porsche. Timo Bernhard, the team car to this McKenna Porsche Alex Job racing car in fifth position. He leads out, was on pole position, and continues to lead, but by an ever-decreasing margin, because the fastest GT car on the track at the moment is Darren Law for the Flying Lizards team, in second place at the moment, 10th place overall. Took around about 3 or 4 tenths of a second again out of Timo Bernhard the last time around, so it's now, remember, it was about 7.5, 8 seconds, now down to 3.1 seconds between first and second in GT. As into the pits comes the Van der Ster brothers, and Graham Tyler can report.
Yeah, I'll just give you an update on the number 10 car. It was sent on its way without that top plane to the rear wing. What on earth that will do to the rear end grip of this car, heaven only knows.
Got to interrupt you there, Graham, for a second, because we've had Ralph Kellner off on the grass on the exit of turn number 1. Now, did he jump or was he pushed? He's managed to get the car back on without too much obvious damage. The Ricci Ferrari airborne just for a moment as the Asemco Celine was in close attendance, and I believe putting another lap on them. And the leaders also again coming round to the GTS cars, which are giving them a wide berth Those Corvettes are so fast in a straight line, though. Marco Vernon's going to have to make a bit of a dive up the inside of the keyhole. Does just about get it done, and again, he's not frightened of using his right foot and gets a big slide on, and the Michelin's working very, very hard indeed as he goes down the back straight. Back down to Graham Tyler to continue with his pit report.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I'll just finish off the story of the number 10 Miracle Motorsports car. Just to add insult to injury, when they went to send the car on its way, they were held for a further 20 seconds by the official because the guy holding the fire extinguisher bottle didn't have his goggles on, and that caused him a 20-second penalty in the pit box. We've also just seen a full scheduled stop for the number 19 car. This is the Van der Steur brothers car, and they've done a complete change. They've swapped Gunnar for Eric, two brothers running in the car, and they've managed to get it to its first scheduled pit stop for the first time in a race. They're a new team, joined the series at Sebring, but left equally rapidly there, unfortunately, because they had a broken drive shaft on the first lap. So they'll be pleased that they've at least got both brothers out in the race.
Every lap, every race, live at the American Le Mans Series radio web.
And the ALMS Radio Network coming to you live from the ALMS at Mid-Ohio, round 2 of the 2004 championship. John Hindhaugh, Jim Martin and Graham Tyler, you just heard in the pits. The battle for the lead is with Andy Wallace and Marco Werner, and it is absolutely on fire, as it has been since the green flag. We lost, remember, the second Dyson car that had been on pole position. Butch Leitzinger, the unlucky man at the wheel at the time. We did 1 3/4 of the 2 pace laps that needed to be completed. As he came up to the keyhole, we just noticed his hand right hand coming out of the cockpit, and that was to be a portent of disaster for the Poughkeepsie-based team. Rob Dyson, head in hands on the pit lane, knew then that he'd lost his pole car, the engine coming to a grinding halt without even taking the green flag down the back straight. But Andy Wallace has risen to the occasion. It looked as though Marco Werner would drive off into the distance, and indeed he did for the first half dozen or so laps. But traffic meant that Andy Wallace could gain a little bit of time and take the lead. And in comes the second place man. And here's another shock, Graham Tyler, because we don't expect to see the Audi coming in before the Lola. That is a major departure from what we've seen. The Audi exceptionally fuel efficient, and Brad Kettler has brought in Marco Werner. I wonder if this is going to be tyres as well. Graham Tyler.
Yeah, I'm on my way up there, John. I was just trying to find out what was happening with Ralph Kettler in this car, which of course is at the other end of the pit lane. We've also just seen the 63 car in. That's the Asemco Motorsports Celine.
Well, we're getting a driver change. Out gets Marco Werner, in gets JJ Leto for the first time in the race. There's tyres standing by. Yes, I think there's going to be a tyre change. 4 Michelins are standing there. These tyres, remember, on the car at the moment were the ones that they'd qualified on, and Marco Werner was on fire and qualified off. Oh, 2 cars. It's not 3 because that Buckingham car's been there all the time, but it is the McKenna Porsche number 24, Mark Leave, and Ralph Kellan, as they were battling for 4th position in GT, and they've come to grief at turn number 6 and 7 down in the S's, and it's Leave's car that's beached in the kitty litter.
Beaks in the kitty litter, which means we're probably going to see a yellow flag, which means that Marco Werner, the champion Audi, has come in at exactly the wrong time.
Well, yes, we've seen in the past, haven't we, that the Dyson team have been the team that has struggled and been unlucky with yellow flags, and so have the champion cars. As in comes the leader. Andy Wallace is in the pit lane. And what happened out there? Well, the battle for the GT minor positions, it was Mark Leave coming down the inside in a carbon copy of the manoeuvre that Ralph Kellan had tried, and really he was coming from a long way back, trying to use the leader as a bit of a pick in basketball terminology. The leader is in the pit lane. Graham Tyler.
Yeah, I'm actually up with the second place car. Marco Werner is with me out of the car. Marco, it's very tight out there.
Yeah, it was a nice race. It was very, very funny. One of my best races, I think so. And the Dyson car is very quick on the straight and also good on braking. With our weight, there's a little bit problem on this circuit. But I pushed very hard, and looks that the gap is not so big, and that was
unusual to see the Audi coming in a lap ahead of the Dyson on fuel.
I don't know what this. Maybe it's normal. They did a good testing, I heard, Dyson, and maybe they make a step also at the engine.
Thanks, Marco. We're going to try and catch a word with the Dyson guys, John.
Yeah, full service, new set of good gears, and Andy Wallace getting out of the car, which means that Chris Dyson will get in And also service for the leading GTS machine. Ollie Gavin giving away to Olivier Beretta as he rejoins, and out goes the leader, so that's good news. Now, are we going to get a full course caution? We are.
Full course yellow, the pits are closed. The people that dove in for pit stops right now did it exactly right. They got lucky. The
Honda S2000 pace car that's in use here at Mid-Ohio is standing up at the end of the pit lane and will roll out. The double yellows are already being shown by Dennis Paul, our starter, over the timing, scoring and finish gantry, which sports this weekend a brand new Jean Richard Swiss clock, which is standing proudly, very Le Mans-like, in fact, over the
biggest wristwatch I've ever seen in my life, and it looks great.
It certainly does. So we've got our first full course caution of the afternoon here at the ALMS at Mid-Ohio, and Andy Wallace will be the leader when we go back green, having both the leaders taking their first pit stops here in this second round of the American Le Mans Series for 2004. A quick word, I think, with Andy Wallace down in the pits. Graham?
Yeah, he's just been snaffled by Rob Dyson. I don't think I should interrupt. Yes, I can interrupt. Andy, fantastic race.
It was a very, very good race, obviously in and out of the traffic, but the guys at Dyson Racing have done such a great job over the winter. I can't thank them enough. And Goodyear tyres, they've really, really given us some good things to work with here. Fantastic in the traffic, as I say. There's a two-car race, but every time you get to another car, of course, it goes in and out, and it's great fun. Thanks, Andy.
Andy Wallace then brought his car in second place in the lead, and we've got the leader being picked up, and they picked up Marco Werner, so we need to see how this will pan out.
And it was J.J. Leto with teammate Marco Werner who took the class honors in P1 in their Audi R8. In GTS, it was Ron Fellows and Johnny O'Connor who also finished on the podium overall. In P2 was the team of Clint Field and Robin Liddell. And in GT, it was Johannes van Overbeek and Darren Law in their Porsche GT3 RSR taking the GT class honors and 8th overall. After a quick commercial break, we'll be back with more ALMS season review, round 3 from Lime Rock Park in Connecticut.
Sitting here at the moment as the cars roll, wondering what the weather holds in store for us this afternoon. As we show you the on-screen graphic, temperature in the low 70s, but the big thing is the bottom graphic, chance of rain, and that has certainly increased, Dorsey, over the past 5 minutes or so. The clouds are rolling in.
Yeah, I can't tell you whether it will rain or not, but what I can tell you is if it does rain, if these boys think it's slippery in the dry, they haven't been around here in the rain yet. This isn't ice skating rain.
If you've just joined us, again, this is the first time the American Le Mans Series has raced at Lime Rock Park here in northwestern Connecticut. It's a tight, tricky circuit, but it does have high speeds. Pace car pulling off the circuit. We get set for green in this 2 3/4 hour race. Round 3 of the American Le Mans Series. The New England Grand Prix is underway.
Watch this down in turn 1. Everybody launch some brakes here. You see the Corvette on the inside already hooked up.
16 gets clear of the champion Audi, and then it's the Intersport Lola diving into third spot with John Field. Duncan Dayton starting the car as he chases out after J.J. Leto.
Lime Rock is a really bumpy circuit, and these front 2 laps, these cars in the front, right now, they haven't got the tire pressure built up yet, so they'll be bottoming out quite hard. Look there, though, the Celine already cleared into the lead.
Celine is in 5th overall in the lead GTS car. It has had a stunning weekend. Terry Borchella is starting the Estepco Celine. His regular co-driver, Johnny Mollem, they've had a couple of podiums, and they're feeling very confident about this, and he's already putting pressure on the 20.
He's trying to get by Chris Dyson right there, really giving a lot of pressure. Like I say, though, the first 2 laps in these P1 cars, the pressures aren't built up in the tires. You have to take it pretty slow.
Borchella almost threw it all the way in qualifying, trying to squeeze a little bit more out of the beautiful Celine, trying to better the time set by the 2 Corvettes that they are running second and third in class at the moment. And already a new leader in P2. Brian, what do you have for us?
You talk about the tires not getting up to pressure yet. It's going to take a couple of laps for that. But guys, just about the time they get to pressure, they're going to run into dampness. It's already starting to drizzle down here, and that will change everything, Dorsey.
Well, I tell you, it does. Brian says it does a lot, because a pit stop here to change tires will cost you 2, maybe 3 laps. So if you guess wrong and you come in too early, you're going to pay a big price.
Dyson leads the way from J.J. Leto. The rain starts to sprinkle, and there's been a new pit entry. There it is right there at the bottom of the screen. Motorsport Porsche contact just before the uphill.
Yes, that's a climbing turn. You're looking down at it. He's up hard into the guardrail.
Oh, there goes the New Century Mortgage Porsche as well, the Racers Group car. Leo Hendry in the 43 at the bottom of the hill. And the 67, Jim Matthews, one of the Intersport cars, has gone as well.
Well, the rain now claiming 3 cars in 1 lap.
They need to get that back around. Duncan Dayton doing a good job to engage reverse and limp back to the pits. Now these guys taking it very, very easy. We're under a full force caution, in fact. James Weaver slows this field down, and pit lane will become very busy. Here's the replay of the BAM Porsche. Leo Hendry
just
wide.
Goes straight, way wide. What a big hit, too, on that guardrail. That's the problem with Lime Rock. There's very few places you can get off on this racetrack without having a big accident.
Let's hope Leo's okay. That was a pretty heavy contact. There is the Flying Lizard Porsche. This has just happened. Starting the 44. The combination of Lonnie Pechnik, Seth Nyman, and Lonnie in the car at the moment.
Well, no damage done. He's just gone off the road because of the rain.
Start finish now.
Now, here's the thing, Lee. Take a look and see what happened to Lonnie here in the 44. We know it's been raining. It's very slippery. There he goes off. That's just outside of the left-hander. Turn 4, and he just simply spins in the wet condition.
Rain tires at the ready, understandably.
It'll be interesting to see what teams go with what choices of rain tires. There's more than one type of rain tire that they can use. And this is what makes it so hard. When you look at the sky around here, this could be just a little shower, or it could be raining for quite a while, but it looks like a shower. Hey, Brian, what do you got?
Doris, I got a question. You talk about going to rain tires. Typically, you want to go to rain tires when there's standing water on the racetrack because they're so soft. They're not built to run in dry conditions. They'll overheat. There's not a lot of standing water right now, and I wonder if going to rains is really a good decision, or an intermediate would be the choice. And a lot of teams down here, I don't see any intermediates on the wall. I'm wondering how long rains will last.
Well, that's a good point, Brian. And like I was saying, looking up at the sky, this could be just a brief shower. And if you went to full rains right now, it's such a soft compound. An intermediate rain tire is nothing more than a very, very soft compound tire. Some of them hand-cup, they cut little sipes in there to get rid of the water. But if there's no standing water, you wouldn't want a full rain, and they would burn down very quickly. Right now, I wouldn't go to a rain tire.
Well, the key for going to rain tyres for the Corvette team is they have never run on the Michelin tyres, or their wet tyre, that is. They've been to a couple of test sessions where it was raining, but one thing led to another. They never got out on their wet weather tyres. So for those boys on the Corvette team, if they do run the Michelin wet today, that'll be a whole new experience for them. And as I stand here, I believe it is the number 16 of James Weaver. It is the race leader. Now coming down into pit lane, they have the Goodyear wet weather tyre at the ready. And being honest about this, talking to some of these drivers on the team, they were hoping for dry conditions. They feel that the new Goodyear slick tyre they have is excellent, but the rain tyre may certainly have a disadvantage to the Michelin tyre on the Audi, but they're making that call. They just want to keep it safe. When you're running around, Dorsey, on these conditions on slick tyres, it is literally like being on ice, as you know.
Oh, absolutely right there. I said before, I've driven this racetrack many times in the wet, and it is very, very slippery.
What an introduction to the teams and competitors of the American Le Mans Series. Never at Lime Rock have they run. Now they have to run in the rain. It will be a spectacular day, and they will be running. Welcome back to Lime Rock, and if you've just joined us here on Speed, welcome to round 3 of the American Le Mans Series, the New England Grand Prix. Let's bring you up to date with what has happened thus far as we approach the 2-hour mark in this 2-hour 45-minute race. Big accident for local driver Mike Durand in the Intersport Lola. He said it was something that failed that caused that. Fortunately, he first initially collided with the tyre barrier. Brian Willman brought in the Team Bucknam Racing prototype. They had a string of problems. It was just the beginning. Lost wheel nut. It went under the car. Crew guys finally found it. But from here on in, the day went south for those guys. James Guay and Ian James in the Miracle Motorsport Prototype 2 class car took over the lead of that category. We had a thrilling battle up front in the second hour between James Weaver and Marco Werner, but it seemed every time he got close, traffic came into play, but Werner nailed Chris McMurray going into the left-hander. McMurray didn't like it, and nor did the officials. He got a stop-go penalty for that. 16 came in for their stop. James Weaver drove the entire race. A very, very long stint for him up to this point. Butch Leitzinger took over. Marco Werner in the ADT Champion Audi served his stop and go, but then Butch Leitzinger stalled the car. So the luck seesawed between Dyson and Champion, back to Dyson, and then it went back to Champion as Leitzinger frustratingly stood motionless in pit lane. They finally got it fired up and went out.
It seems that Speed's not quite ready to take up the charge, so we're still riding on board with Marco Werner as he works his way around once again on another Porsche GT car. And you can see just how bumpy it is here today at Lime Rock. It's quite an old circuit. It's one of the more tradition-held circuits in North America. It's one of the oldest active circuits today on the North American motorsport world. And Marco Werner running here for the first time in the LMP car. He's doing quite a fine job, despite having a few slight moments there with some of the back markers earlier on today where he incurred a stop and go penalty and actually was waving to his GTS competitors to try and get them out of the way. And here we see the ongoing battle between the two Corvettes. That is a battle for race position. And it seems that perhaps that Olivier Beretta has made the move on Ron Fellows. And takes over, yes, the driver from Monaco. It looks like he has taken over the lead in the GTS class. And now it may be a question if Ron Fellows has enough car to keep up with his teammate. It may not be the case. There may be a slight problem with that Corvette, or Olivier Beretta just has a lot of gumption and he's off and running. Here we see a nice replay of the pass coming down into Big Ben. Beretta puts the classic move to the inside, a little bit late braking, and his teammate gives him the room, and he takes over the lead. Job well done from the European veteran, in fact, the Michelin test driver in Formula One, who recently had a test in one of the older Williams cars, trying to develop those Michelin tires for Formula One, and once again, we see the pass. Very nice onboard camera work. In fact, that little sign that you saw there was a thank you from the driver. In the Corvettes, they have an electronic gizmo that basically keeps them from having to wave thank you or to wave people around.
His teammates here, Ollie Gavin. Ollie, you've been in catch-up mode all day. Explain how you got behind the 3 car.
Yeah, well, it's a bit unfortunate, but it just so happened that when the safety car came out for the time before this last one, it caught us out, and it was in between me and the 3 cars, so we ended up going almost a lap down. So, yeah, like you say, we've been pushing really, really hard, and Olivier just got past Ron, just coming to turn 1 here. That's fantastic. I just want to say hi to my mum. She's getting better. I've been getting better.
As we mentioned earlier, his mother came down with an ailment while she was here to see him race for the first time in 3 or 4 years. She was in hospital, now she's at a friend's house and feeling much better. And a win would certainly make everything feel better, I think, Lee.
For the number 4 Cal, it was the 6th at Sebring, it was a 2nd at Mid-Ohio. Gavin and Beretta may go all the way here today and stand on the top step. It's been a while since Ollie Gavin.
Nice job. 4 pairs of P cars behind you. Now it's time to get a little distance from the 3 car. You're doing a good job. Drink water.
Communication there to the 4 car of Olivier Beretta. You ride now with Fellows.
Here through the chicane they go. You hear them say, drink water. You got to remind the driver.
Okay, Ronnie, this is like old-time Trans Am racing, okay? Save those rear tires. Keep them in sight. And when it's time to go, we'll let her rip.
Old-time Trans Am racing I can tell you about, because that was my boy right there that I had to race against. Ron Fellows and I had some great classic battles. Him and his Chevrolet, me and my Ford around this place. And that's Danny Binks, his old crew chief on the radio, back with him again after so many years with
that lap, you were 3/10 quicker. Nice job. Keep drinking your water. Bunch of traffic coming up here.
It's important for them to tell the driver, drink the water. You don't have time to think about it on a 50-second lap around here, and that's what these guys are doing. 52 seconds.
Speaking of old-time Trans Am racing, the last time Ron Fellows was here was 1996 when he was driving a Camaro in Trans Am. He was leading the race and had driveline failure, so Fellows has unfinished business here at Lime Rock Park. Riding now with the Asenco Saleen with Terry Borchella. He is trying to get his lap back.
They told Terry right at the beginning of it, after this restart, get that lap back.
And the team of Marco Werner and J.J. Lotto in their Audi number 38 Championship Audi R8 go on for another win here at Lime Rock. And as the team celebrates, we will ride along with Marco Werner on his victory lap. There he is, the very happy German, as he takes his victory lap here at Lime Rock Park. In just a few moments, we're going to head west. We're going to head west from Connecticut all the way out to California for round 4 of the American Le Mans Series, which took place at Sonoma, California. And at Sonoma, better known as Sears Point, there was some huge news in the GTS category because there was a third Corvette C5R entered for this special event. And the driver was none other than Dale Earnhardt Jr., the NASCAR star and son of the late Dale Earnhardt Sr., 7-time NASCAR champion, who's going to share a third car with his good friend and road racing specialist, Boris Said. However, as the teams were practicing, the Corvette, the number 3 car in the team, had some difficulties, had a slight problem. We're going to send you to the original commentators to find out exactly what happened to Dale Earnhardt Jr. in his ALMS season debut. And as we see here with Tony Lazzaro and Ralph Calleners, who brought Ferrari their first win in the GT class in the American Le Mans Series. And yes, here we are, race winner Marco Werner will soon be greeted by his team. In just a few seconds, we're going to take you to Sonoma for round 4 of the ALMS.
It's the American Le Mans Series at the Infineon Grand Prix at Sonoma. The leader is J.J. Leto. Let's go back to the pit lane. Graham Tyler.
Yeah, I've come down to the PK, not the PK Sport, there'll be Pirelli competition overall threw me there for a minute. I'm down at the Intersport pit with Robin Liddell, formerly a PK Sport driver, of course. And Robin, you're holding P1 in P2.
I'm holding a chicken burger at the moment, Graham, but no, I'm halfway through my lunch, but actually, no, it seems to be going quite well. The car's been running very consistently. We had a small problem with the gear shift early on. The box itself is okay, but the shifter had a little bit of play in it, and that was making some of the upshifts a bit tricky. No, very happy with the way the car's going at the moment, and John is obviously going to finish. Barring any problems, we should be okay, can run till the end on fuel, and we were obviously quite lucky to take advantage of the safety car. And when I came out after the first safety car, just, pushed hard for a few laps, got in front of Bucknam in the pill beam, and then we just stabilized the gap from there on, so it's been quite good.
Excellent, that's good stuff from Robin Liddell, sharing with their father and son, John and Clint Field, currently leading the P2 category.
Graham Tyler down there in the pit lane. Many people, of course, will be wondering why we aren't talking about Dale Earnhardt Jr. today. We did expect to see him in the number 8 Corvette. Indeed, he's been throwing some pretty good laps in around the circuit here at Infineon over the last few days, getting to grips with the Corvette, a very different proposition from his Chevy Monte Carlo that he drives in the stock car series here in the States. He's impressed everybody, I think, Jim, it's fair to say, with his attitude, taking on a very new challenge, and to be just half a second or a second away from much more established sports car drivers. It's been a great day for us, but not such a great day for the American Le Mans Series runners of Pratt & Miller, because that part of the portion of the circuit was where Dale came to grief this morning in what looked a very, very nasty accident indeed. Doug Feehan tells us exactly what happened.
Well, in that incident this morning, we had a combination of factors. Obviously, it was chilly this morning. We had cold tires and a full fuel load, and literally lost the car and backed into the wall very, very hard. Apparently, it looks like it had broken the filler neck off, and the amount of fuel that was stored in there ignited and started the fire.
It was a big impact from the sound of it.
It was probably the largest impact we've seen with Corvette. We've got some big ones, so it was huge. I think it's a real testament to the safety we've engineered in the car, the amount of crush that we put back there. fortunately allowed him to stay conscious and get himself extricated.
So that was Doug Feehan talking us through the accident, which was very big and very spectacular this morning. Pleased to say that Dale Earnhardt got out of that, was flown to a local hospital where he has been treated for burns, which have been, we've just heard, have been assessed as slightly more serious than was at first thought, and he's going to be kept in hospital overnight with burns to his legs. It was facial and lower extremities that was the problems for Dale Jr., and the good news is, though, it won't be lasting problems, although he is going to be kept in overnight, as I say, at the local hospital he was flown to. And, of course, everyone here wishing him all the best and hoping to see him back here soon. Doug Feehan extending a constant invitation to Dale Earnhardt Jr. for his participation in the American Le Mans Series. And I'm sure there's a lot of team guys and competitors even up and down the pit lane who would like to see him back.
Oh, absolutely, because Dale was such a wonderful addition to the race series. He's a gifted racer. There's no doubt about that. Everybody knows that. But in his first attempt behind the wheel here at Infineon this weekend, he really impressed a lot of people with his talent and with his general attitude. He was an exceptionally nice person, in spite of the fact that everybody wanted to get Dale Jr.'s autograph and at least at the very least wanted to see him and take his picture because. He's a well-known celebrity. There's no doubt about it. Knows how to get the job done. His first opportunity in a Corvette this weekend, and we'd love to see him behind the wheel of these cars a little bit more.
Okay, the GT battle rages on with a problem for the J3 car, and that's Tim Sugden with a right rear puncture in the carousel. Oh, that's a disaster. He was into 5th place overall, and the GT category has been certainly a real dogfight this weekend here at Infineon Raceway at Sonoma. So the British driver, so long associated with Steve O'Rourke and the MCA Racing team, is going to have to limp that car about a couple of miles around to get it back into service. Let's stay with the GT runners at the moment and check back in with Graham Tyler, who's down in along pit lane with Craig Stanton.
Yeah, Craig out of the number 31 Peterson Motorsport Porsche. Craig, we saw you involved in an incident earlier which left some damage on your car. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, I was driving the Peterson Motorsport White Lighting Team 31 Porsche. We were just running as hard as we could run. There was 4 of us, so 23, 24. It was us. It was a 66 car, and then it was the 45 car. We were running as hard as we could. I just made a tick of a mistake. One of those things, you know, and you know, there's no room for error. And unfortunately, I got into Domas's car, and I really feel bad for the Alex Job team. They did a great job coming back, and I think they're doing real well on the points right now, but I felt bad hitting them. But you know, the Peterson Motorsport White Lighting team has done a great job lately. Everybody stepped up. The team is working great together. Communication's good. We have a lot of resources and momentum headed off towards Portland, and we're really optimistic on how the car's running, how we're communicating, and we have a bright future ahead of us here.
First time at Sonoma for the new RSRs. How do you rate that car around here?
Oh, I think they're brilliant. They work really well. Kind of a combination of a couple of things. New suspension. We have a 6-speed sequential box, which is brilliant. Works just great. It's flawless. We have actually this year we have traction control, which is brilliant up here. Infineon Raceways, always, you know, as a driver, you're always in a turn. So the sequential box enables you to shift anywhere on the track, in a turn, out of the turn, in the straights, whatever. And the traction control allows you to really be aggressive with the car, and the computer takes over. So the computer basically is smarter than we are.
And with that smart computer aiding your gearbox shifts, allows you the opportunity, if you wish, for left foot braking. Is that something you use?
Yeah, it's great. Anytime that you're not, anytime you don't have to shift or downshift with a clutch, you can use left foot braking, which is like an open wheel car, a formula car, which enables you to be a lot smoother and do things with a car that you can't do with a normal H pattern box.
Thanks for that. Interesting insight into the way they race these cars. Craig Stanton, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we were watching the feats of Kurt Wagner in the New Century Mortgage Racers group there as he pedals that car very quickly indeed around the Infineon circuit. His 5th position overall. Bad luck then for the 79 car of the J3 Racing team. We saw the puncture in that car just earlier on, dropping down now. Tim Sugden's dropped down to 6th place. He will probably hold on to 6th position if the team can get him in and out quickly, which I believe they've already done, as Pete Boss now at the wheel of the 60 car, the PK Sport machine, and the bright yellow Lacoste sponsored machine, and that car, as I say, in 7th place rather in the GT category at the moment. The PK Sport team, one of the smaller teams here, but might pick up, desperately wanting to play amongst the big teams, and will quite happily say to anyone who asks, the American Le Mans Series is not for everybody. You're not going to go out and win every weekend, not even in the GT category, but I want to race with the best guys, and that's where it is.
Oh, that's for sure. If it's easy, everybody would do it, and to be totally honest, everybody can't make the cut here, and it really is a challenge for somebody to step up, and regardless of how big your wallet is, that doesn't make it all happen for you.
9th place GT car, where
doing a great job,
have to mention the David Salens Gunnar Jeanette machine, that Elan Power Products front engine GT car. It's been a little bit of a handful for David Salens, throwing it into turn number 11 there. Had its problems today as well, but we've seen, given a fair wind and a bit of good luck, that car's very quick indeed. Back down to Graham Tyler in the prelim.
Just a quick last-minute pit stop for the 71 car, and it's Tom Weikart climbing out, looking absolutely wasted. It's very hard work for this car. 4th place in GTS. We know the Viper is a hot car, and Tom is obviously really feeling it, because he's put Jean-Philippe Belloc back in just at his last few laps. Obviously feels he just couldn't cope with it himself.
So we have to say that the Panos has done a great job. Thanks, Graham, for that. Have to say the Panos has done a great job. That car being developed and just going a lap down to the leader. JJ Leto. He's got a bit of a gap between himself. Tom Weikart just going back into Jean-Philippe Belloc just going back into the race as the GTS leader puts a lap on that car. And I have to say, it looks like that might be a problem for Belloc, yes.
Yeah, the car isn't 100%, and from what we understand, the car is very, very warm, and that's part of the reason why Tim Weikart got out of the car just a moment ago. It's an extremely hot automobile. However, just the heat in the interior of the car might not be the only problem. It doesn't appear to be up to speed yet either.
Weather Ride being kept on that 4th position GTS car then as it goes through the carousel, which is turn number 6 of 12 here at the 2.5 mile Infineon Raceway, up the quite steep hill actually to turn number 7. Doesn't look it on there, it's the end of the drag strip, so it's inclined to help the big machine slow down at the end of their 300 mile an hour runs through 7, and now begins to drop down. Here's the 16 car of James Weaver just putting the pass on him. That's where the Earnhardt problem was this morning, but I have worries for that car as it comes back down towards us, Jim. Jean-Philippe Belloc.
Yeah, he seems to have picked up the pace a little bit, and doesn't appear to be a big problem. And if nothing else, after the stop, they want to make sure the car's 100%. Things are going very, very well for them this week. They've had more than their fair share of misfortune over the course of the 2004 season so far, and with any luck at all, this will be one of their better results.
Now, in the GTS category, we've been talking about for a little while, the battle that we've been keeping a weather eye on too is the Dave McEntee in the number 6 Lamborghini Murcielago. Olivia Beretta chasing him down, and he's now only 4 laps behind, and he's taking a little over 10 seconds a lap out of Dave McEntee. Now, Dave's new to the car is new to the series and brand new to the track, and it's the first time, in fact, we've seen the number 6 car in a race. Olivia Beretta has a sick car, but he's getting used to it very quickly. He's lapping, as I say, in the 34s, which is 2 or 3 seconds slower than the qualifying time, but that's not bad at all considering the damage that was caused by the accident that Ollie Gavin had a little bit earlier on in the race. That's what we need to keep an eye on in the last 15 minutes or so of this race. Just 7 minutes to go here at the American Le Mans Series 4th round at Sonoma. It is the Infineon Grand Prix of Sonoma. John Hindhaugh and Jim Martin watching the laps and the time click down. And it has been really from the green flag today, an Audi ADT Infineon race, because the dash to the first corner was won by Marco Werner, who was in the car then battling against Butch Leitzinger, and since then they have not been headed.
They haven't. No one's been really close enough to bother them too very much. The number 38 machine has been full measure for the win so far. It's not done by any stretch, though. We've got 6 minutes to go. J.J. Leto currently behind the wheel of the 38 car, a 51-second advantage over the number 20 of Andy Wallace. But the 16 car, the car that missed the pole by 7/100ths of a second, is turning laps. Well, the last lap to pick some off the scoreboard, 4 seconds a lap faster than the race leader. Now they're in third place overall. I can't imagine them really improving on their podium position right now. But James Weaver and Butch Leitzinger want to leave a bit of a message with the champion ADT Audi squad that hey, they're in this for the long haul, and there is another race only 7 days away in Portland, Oregon. They were knocked out of this one by a bit of a mechanical misfortune. They've got the car back together. They're 3 laps down to their teammate in the 20 car in second. The 16 car runs third right now, 4 laps off the race lead, but they haven't given up by any stretch.
This is the 55th outing of the Audi R8 since its debut in March of 2000, and there's only been 9 losses to date, 2 of which have been at this track in the last 2 years. But with just 5 minutes now to run in this one, J.J. Leto must feel confident that that losing streak is going to be broken for Dave Mirage's guys and for himself and Marco Werner. Magic Marco Werner as far as his qualifying was concerned this weekend. JJ has been turning in the last few laps an absolute brilliant performance. Remember, the pole position time was a 1:22.3 for 110.5 miles an hour. His last lap a 1:23.6 in race condition with traffic. There was no traffic in qualifying because we did the new one car showdown, and so that was almost in perfect conditions. JJ Leto on race tyres now that have done getting on for 2 stints of racing around this track. It's lapping almost as quick as the qualifying pace set on Saturday afternoon here, so that's pretty impressive. And they'll go to Portland in a week's time feeling very, very confident. Another race that you can see live on MotorsTV and listen to on AmericanLeMans.com for the ALMS radio network. And we'll be driving up there during the week. Portland, a circuit that we've missed for a few years. It's a little tight circuit, quite flat, but very demanding and very technical, Jim.
Very demanding, very technical. Within the city limits, we're going to put mufflers on the cars because they won't let them make too much noise in the city of Portland, Oregon. But it's a fabulous circuit. It's easy to get to, and it's so close to downtown Portland that it's almost laughable. It's a 5-minute drive to anything within the city, and it really should be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great fight for the look of things, the way they've stacked up at Infineon Raceway in Northern California today.
In P2, the leader, and looks like it's going to be the winner of that one, although they are together on the timing and scoring serial first and second. John Field now at the wheel of the number 30 car. John not able to take the start in the 37 machine, his prototype 1 car, because of a problem that was actually caused here last year. You might remember, if you're a regular viewer, that the number 37 car, driven then by Duncan Dayton, came into heavy contact with a Porsche, and the car had to go back to Lola to be repaired, and they borrowed a couple of cars from Hugh Chamberlain back in the UK. Well, unfortunately, that repair has come away on the chassis, and that car will not race here or indeed at Portland next weekend. Rumours of the Riley and Scott coming back out of retirement for the 37 and getting the 37 number back on. The GTS leader, inheriting it, Johnny O'Connell and Ron Fellows, perhaps. Even under Ron's words, not quite as quick as the Ollie Gavin and Olivia Beretta car, but they are going to be the ones on the top of the podium. And here's the story for me for this weekend, Jim Martin. First win for Flying Lizards, and a win not just down to pace, not just down to preparation, but we always say there's as much talent on the wall as there is in the car in American Le Mans Series, and Thomas Blam has proved that today for Johannes van Overbeek and Darren Lowe as far of the Flying Lizards machine.
Thomas Blam's been 100%. what looked to be a wild guess whether he could stay out there and drive sufficiently far that he might not have to stop for fuel. There'd probably be another yellow flag. Was exactly on the money, just as the car gasped for fuel. As the race leader, we've got J.J. Lato crossing start-finish, taking the white flag. There's 1 lap to go in Sonoma. Infineon Raceway with the Audi, the number 38 car, the race leader. The 20 machine of Andy Wallace runs in second. James Weaver in the 16 is third, and we've got less than a lap to go.
Yeah, the 2 hours and 45 minutes will be up in 40 seconds. Jim Martin will take his leave from us to get things going down on the victory podium. Our thanks to him on behalf of the MotorsTV audience and indeed our radio web audience across the world, and I'm sure that you'll want... Oh, and the Panos just coming back on right in front of the leader there. So drama right to the very end as J.J. Lato comes down on what should be a relatively easy and victorious lap. He's confronted at the exit of the carousel by David Salins coming back onto the track from the right-hand side. He's managed to avoid that and continues now down through the S's, back towards us as the 2 hours and 45 is up now. He's got 3-4 more corners to come. There's very little traffic between himself and the checkered flag, which is in the hands of our starter and flag man, Dennis Paul. He's waiting now. It's about a couple of 100 yards. J.J. Lato goes down the paddle shift box one more time for Audi. It'll be GTS win for Corvette. The white flag any second now will be replaced by the checker, and there it is. And it is another win for Audi. And he's just about pulled up across the start-finish line as he takes the checkered flag and the plaudits of the fans on the Earnhardt banking. And there is some applause there. The Corvette, the number 3 Corvette, will come through to win GTS. And he's just finishing his final lap. There goes the Flying Lizards car, which will come through in 8th place in GT. We're waiting for the GTS, and the GT leader here is Johannes van Overbeek in the Flying Lizards car, local to this track, of course. And the first time they've won here, he gets it right behind Olivier Beretta in the number 4 car. He'll finish in 3rd in GTS. This is the P1 leader coming round to us now, down from the top end of the circuit, and John Field will see the checkered flag and a win in P2 in the car that he shares with his son Clint and Scotsman Robin Liddell. He's just got about a quarter of the lap to go down through turn number 10, and the P2 leader soon to become the P2 winner in the 4th round of the American Le Mans Series. So some disappointment for John, I'm sure, for not getting the 37 car out after that problem with the suspension mountings. But it will be John Field, Clint Field and Robin Liddell who take P2 here at Sonoma in the Infineon Grand Prix of Sonoma. J.J. Lato, the man who's won it here for champion Audi.
I like the Corvette. I enjoy racing it. It's a lot of fun to drive. It's a great race car. I hate to be the guy that backed it in the wall and burned it to the ground. But I would, if I got they told me, and they've told me 100 times that anytime I want, I got an open invitation to get over there and drive with them. It's fun to be around those people. They have a great passion for racing, and I go over there and do that because it's kind of what I miss out of the reason I started racing. And so it's, I'd do it next weekend if we had a weekend off.
Really pleasing news to hear that. Our road racing analyst is Dorsey Schrader. You've raced both sports cars and NASCAR. What were your thoughts on what you saw last week?
Well, the burns received by Dale Earnhardt Jr. were well documented to his legs and also underneath his chin here. But by his own admission, he was not wearing the fireproof long underwear underneath his suit, nor was he wearing a balaclava. Now, neither of those are mandatory for a driver to have to wear. Dale Earnhardt Jr. will wear them from now on.
Plenty of news about GTS. Also in GT, there's been some controversy in that class. Brian Till has more.
Absolutely, Lee. The story in GT is not from Portland. It is from Infineon, where the 45 car took the checkered flag first. Darren Law, Johannes van Overbeek celebrated the wins, drank the champagne, and took the trophies home. But the officials later ruled that they had a infraction in pit lane, penalized them 42 seconds after the race. That moves them back to second place. Finish at Infineon. They still hold the points lead in the GT class, but they arrived in Portland with some bad feelings and a lot of controversy still in the air. Things did not get better as they blew an engine in this morning's warm-up, and they'll have to start today from pit lane. Lee?
The American Le Mans Series is all about 4 classes on the track at the same time. Let's meet our respective pole sitters with the Audi starting grid.
I'm Andy Wallace, driving Dyson Racing car number 20 with Chris Dyson.
Hi, I'm Clint Field from Dublin, Ohio, driving the number 30 Marquee Financial Lola B2K40 Judd. I'll be driving with Robin Liddell this weekend.
I'm Oliver Gavin. I drive the number 4 CompuAir Chevrolet Corvette, and my teammate is Olivier Beretta.
I'm Mark Lieb. I'm racing the 24 McKenna Milton Webb Alex Job Racing Porsche together with Romain Dumas.
The remainder of the grid at the top of your screen. Meanwhile, Calvin Fish tells us more about the Prototype 2 class.
Well, a big problem yesterday, Lee, for the Miracle Motorsports team who currently lead the points. They had a comprehensive engine blow-up right before qualifying, means that they didn't make that qualifying session. They start today's race from the very back of the pack. So for Ian James, the championship leader, and his teammates James Gouet and John Macaluso, they have a lot of work to do today, as first they have to weave their way through the GT field.
Be a nice birthday present for John Macaluso today if they could do that. It was Ian James' birthday on Thursday. Rolling toward the green. The Grand Prix of Portland. And it has been a very, very busy summer schedule after a lengthy break between Sebring and Mid-Ohio. The teams and drivers have really been forced with a brutal workload. Set to go racing here, though, in the Pacific Northwest after a 3-year absence. This should be a good one today. Can Dyson take the fight to champion and beyond and win? Set to the green. We go racing in Portland, American Le Mans Series style. Ian James at the back of the pack dives right to the inside. Meanwhile, Chris Dyson leads the way, and JJ Lato goes around the outside into the festival curves.
Patience, boys. They wreck a lot of race cars right in this corner right here at the festival curves. Not much room to go side by side. Right on board right now, JJ Lato trying to get the inside.
JJ is impatient, really putting the pressure on Chris on the opening lap. Outside, side by side, Lato. Oh, that was a dangerous move, but he pulled it off beautifully.
Picking on Chris Dyson early on, trying to get a lead, because right behind that, of course, is the 16. He'll want to get by here, too.
Make no mistake about it, they were frustrated by not being able to put that car at least on the front row, let alone not on pole position.
Butch Leitzinger
responded quickly.
Butch Leitzinger's got to get by. They cannot let that Audi take off like this and run away on the first lap. And it's going.
It was fascinating to watch qualifying yesterday. JJ Lato gave everything he possibly could in qualifying as Leitzinger now draws up with the sister car.
Now these Michelins on the Audi come in right away. They're up to temperature and almost all the way up to pressure. These Goodyears on the 2 other cars, however, take 2 or 3 laps longer to get up to speed. And you're seeing that now.
Oh, did you see Leitzinger there squirreling and squirming through the final turn onto the front straight? He's starting to set up his teammate, but he is not quite close enough.
You got to be real careful with those Goodyears for the first couple of laps, because the pressures aren't up. When the pressures aren't up, the car's bottoming, particularly under braking. Goes right down on the chassis. You lose all your braking completely.
Let's ride with JJ. The opening couple of corners.
Outside of the old tile turn 1, this is actually the festival corners. They don't really call it turn 1. They just call it festival. It's not much of a festival, however. This is the turn 1 coming up here. It's a very long right-hand corner. Turn 2 is also right, and it makes a 180. One great big long 180.
Well, one of the keys, guys, is yesterday we had extremely high ambient and track temperatures, so it meant that the Dyson team went with a much harder Goodyear tire than they normally would for today's race. So, because they're on those harder tires, it will take 2 or 3 laps for those tires to get up to temperature. Just spoke to the Michelin guys. They said we had 137 degrees track temp yesterday. It's just below 100 right now. Big difference.
Huge difference. Actually, the ambient temperature for the last 2 days out here in Portland, highest ever world record for out here, 103 degrees. And the track temperature is significantly different today.
Top of the straight, you see Olivia Beretta has got by our P2 class pole sitting car now. Butch Leitzinger, and it looks like Chris Dyson let him through.
Yeah, he did. He finally got the temperature he needed up the tires. Chris said, okay, you're faster than the 2 cars right now. Go on. I'm not going to hold you up.
GT class leading car. It is the 24 of Romain Dumas, the pole man. 3 consecutive poles. We must congratulate Alex Job Racing, their 22nd consecutive pole position. That is an incredible run. That just shows you how together they are in the one-lap flyer, how they can put a good lap together. The championship-winning team. They're being hounded, though, by the 43 of Lucas Luer. A change in strategy there. Leo Hindry has started the past 2 races, and Lucas did not even get to race a lap. Well, they put Lucas in the car this time, and now he's taking the fight to the Frenchman.
Lucas Luer, one of the special Porsche drivers. No question about his ability behind the wheel of this car. Now, before the temperature dropped down, everybody was really concerned about tire wear and so forth. I don't think that will be an issue today, as it's about 85 degrees.
It's been a frustrating run this year for BAM Motorsport, for British American Motorsport, but things looking good at the moment.
Guys, I talked to Leo Henry earlier today, who's one of the principals on that team. He actually owns the car, I should say. And we were joking, and he said, you know, they decided that they took a team vote and voted unanimously to let Lucas start. And I said, well, what happens if the car breaks? I won't get any points. And they said, hey, Leo, you haven't gotten any points the last 2 races. You know, you had a problem at Infineon and when a fuel pump broke and then it crashed. So they said, we're going to put Lucas in, we're going to let the kid go, and Leo, you can play in your toy later in the day.
I hate when they tell you that.
On board with the 45, this car had to start from pit road. A change of engine after. Look at this on the inside, coming up on the inside of the Panos and the sister car. Good forceful driving from Johannes van Overbeek.
That was Gunnar Jeanette in the Panos back there. Passes the sister car as well. That's Seth Nyman driving the 44.
And well done to that team for executing that engine change so quickly. We are up and running here at Portland International Raceway. The American Le Mans Series. Can Dyson respond? There are your respective class leaders. It's the halfway point of the season, and it's only going to get tougher from here. Back at Portland for the closing stages of the Grand Prix of Portland. The American Le Mans Series continues here on Speed. You ride with German Marco Werner, the reigning champion in the top class in the American Le Mans Series. And as we count down to the checkered flag, no more commercial breaks until we see the checkers. And thanks for your patience with those commercial breaks, because we had a lot in the latter half of this race, because we stayed with that fabulous battle early on between Chris Dyson and JJ Lado and also Butch Leitzinger. But this is the lead car, poised for 4 consecutive victories overall and in the Prototype 1 class. And but boy, it was a little exciting earlier on. And yeah. The heart rates of many in the ADT champion team were a little above normal.
Marco Werner now only running lap times at the 108 high, so he's still going quite quick, but he's not under any killer pace anymore. He has no pressure to get by James Weaver right there in front of him to put him a lap down. No need for it whatsoever. I mean, right now he just needs to run off some time, and everything will be in his court.
In the other classes, the leads are pretty secure for Ron Fellows. Has done a wonderful job here, and Johnny O in the Corvette Racing C5. For John Field, it's comfortable there over the Miracle car in P2. In GT, it's been one of the closest battles today, but Romain Dumas has in fact pulled away and extended his lead on Craig Standard to out towards 18 seconds. Let's take a look now at Ron Fellows. Smooth running, car looks as clean as it did when it started. No damage, what a smooth run for the reigning champions.
It's like Marco Werner. Ron Fellows has been told the same thing. Now they can't catch you, just go ahead and run it off, and this is what this man is so good at. My ex-teammate, very smooth driver, very calculated driver. He will not make any mistakes from here to the finish.
And they won the last time we were here 3 years ago, 2001, the American Le Mans Series at Portland, as Macaluso guides Ron Fellows by. Some damage on the front of the 24. You see on the left-hand side there, Romain Dumas got into something, but all looking good for he and Mark Lee.
Roma right now enjoys about an 18-second, actually it's a 13-second lead right now over second place. So it's not huge. It's still a good battle going on in GT.
And for both these guys, it will be their first victory in American Le Mans Series racing.
That's a bit amazing when you consider they've been the fastest every time out.
Yeah, the last 3 races they've been quick as far as poles are concerned. Bergmeister and Bernard got the pole the first 2 races of the season. but it's been the sister car ever since. For Peterson White Lightning, they are trying desperately to hang on to second, but look at this. Darren Law is reeling them in. The car, the combination of Van Overbeek and Law that had their win stripped from them a week ago at Infineon Raceway after an infraction during the race. We played you those sound bites earlier from team strategist Thomas Blum and various members saying they weren't aware of what happened. They took it on the chin. We're a little bit miffed that it did get ruled on after the race was over. Wow. And several of the competitors were a little bit frustrated with the decision of IMSA doing that, kind of like in a football game, really. A touchdown being scored, then having it taken away after the game was over. But they're making up for it now, and Darren Law is trying his best to get another second spot.
Look at Darren Law close in right now, and I can tell you the Porsche in front has got no rear tire, no rear grip. Watch, look at it slide on the entrance to the corner right there. It gets loose. When you're sideways like that, you can't do anything with the throttle. And I've watched the last two corners. There again, sideways, back end, stepping out. The sitting duck, he's driving for all he's worth. But I tell you what, Craig Stanton's got a handful of a very ill-handling car. The back end is quicker than the front right now.
And that is why Romain Dumas has been able to drive away almost 20 seconds up ahead. And Darren Law, it's only a matter of time until he snatches second place away. But we only have 3.5 minutes left, so Law needs to catch him and get by.
Darren right now will have seen how loose that Craig is. He sees the back of the Porsche twitching around. And all he's got to do is just drive in deep in these corners, force Craig Stanton to come in deep. And when he does, the back of that Porsche will step out, and he'll be a sitting duck.
And for Darren Law...
3 minutes, or maybe a buckler car going slow. 3 minutes.
That's Thomas Blum calling the shots. This guy, Darren Law, and Van Overbeek, his teammate, lead the GT points by just 5 over Timo Bernard. But with Bernard being back in 4th place, that'll be more points advantage to Law. Look at Craig Stanton get sideways up ahead.
Yeah, once you get the rear tires hot, it's a death spiral. Oh, there's the slow car they were talking about. It's pulled off the racetrack here in 67.
Jim Matthews in the New Century Racers Group Porsche there.
Gets off the racing surface, and that's good. Nothing to worry about there now.
Closing minutes, closing laps.
Once that back end starts sliding around like that, the more it slides, the hotter the rear tires get. The hotter the rear tires get, the more they slide. Watch right here. These corners are long, and halfway through, the rear tire gives up, and all of a sudden you get that twitch right there. It gets sideways. Stanton doing all he can just to hold on. Unfortunately, I don't think anything he can do right now is going to make any difference. Darren Law has caught him.
Darren Law and Johannes Van Overbeek drove together in the ALMS back here in 1999 in Portland. So happy memories. Great to be back here together. And now the driver from Phoenix, Arizona, set to pounce on Craig Stanton.
As soon as he gets on the throttle, the back end steps out. Doing a great job of keeping it under control. But
two more laps.
When they get up here to the festival corners, I think it's going to be desperation time.
Can Craig Stanton hold on? The race for second in GT. The leader has bolted, and the Alex Joe Porsche of Romain Dumas, Mark Lee, will win for the first time this year, and for the drivers, it will be their first win in ALMS. But this is the fight for second, and there's valuable championship points for the second car, the red and silver Flying Lizard Porsche, to be gained.
Watch from behind. A faster GTS car, one of the Corvettes, are going to catch these guys. Now remember, they're only got a lap or so to go, and they're fighting for position. This Corvette could screw this thing up. Not intentionally, I'm sure, but it could get right in the middle of it.
Stanton's got the inside line. Now if this gets sideways, doesn't quite as badly as we thought. Darren Law's got a clean run. He's in front now. Law takes over second.
Yeah, and here comes the Corvette. It didn't play a factor in it whatsoever, as they were side by side, and he had nowhere to go either way.
Can Stanton respond?
I don't.
It's a difficult place to.
He can't brake as well with the rear tires hot like that. He can't turn or accelerate as well. Right now, he better just sit still and get what he can get.
Well, if he can stay where he is, that'll be the third podium, the third place, in fact, for the Peterson White Lightning car this year.
Still 2 more, buddy. Still 2 more. Got a bet coming up on you.
Stanton pulls into the draft of Ron Fellows, trying to get every possible assistance to help in this battle. We ride with race leader to the left of your screen. Marco Werner is in cruise mode as he gets the white flag. And Werner is less than 2 miles from home, less than 2 miles from his 4th consecutive victory.
And he's on cruise control right now. I say cruise control. He lights up the rear tires big time. Now, is he going to try to get by James Weaver just to insult him and put him a lap down? He doesn't need to.
No.
James has had a rough day. He might, not take kindly.
A A three-year absence of the American Le Mans Series here in Portland, but today was a race to remember. It's somewhat of a subdued finish compared to the ferocious action we had earlier, but nonetheless, a very, very hard-fought win for the 38 ADT Championati. We speculated earlier, we said if they can come back from the adversity they've experienced, that will be a mighty win. And it has been that. Marco Werner, JJ Leto, take nothing away from Werner, but Leto was the star of the show. He came back, he rebounded, and what a stunning day for the ADT Championati. 4 wins in 4 races, and they extend their championship lead. Marvellous work. John Field, Clint Field, and Robin Liddell, they pick up their 3rd victory of the season, the first with John sharing the car with Clint. And that will go a long way in helping them in their championship chase. Let's get it down to the pits. Calvin Pitts.
JJ Leto is certainly ecstatic. You were the star of the show. It was a highlight package just for you today.
I tell you, it was just so difficult today. Everything went wrong, but at the end, we won it anyway. So it was really hard working, and I have to say that the team did such a good job all the time. Pit stops, all the tactics, whatever. I got all the penalties. I made all the mistakes, but at the end we got it anyway. So it's this is the best race I have had for a long, long, long time.
All right, JJ, it was fun to watch. Let's go down to Brian.
Calvin Clint Field and his Intersport team, 3rd victory of the season that closes in on the points championship for you guys, but probably most important, these last 2 victories, you did them with your dad. How special is that?
It was good to have him. He had a bad couple of races, before, so it's good to have him in our car. I love driving with him, so it's good.
That's probably the right answer anyway, since he pays the bills, guys.
Yeah, good work from the Field family and also Robin Liddell. Nice work there to those guys. And we congratulate the Corvette team as well. And Johnny O'Connell's with Cal.
Johnny, another victory for the 3-car. Ollie Gavin says you boys have all the luck, but it takes experience and patience in one of these events.
It really does. First off, it's my son's 10th birthday today, so Kanan, happy birthday, man. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. But, yeah, everyone on the CompuAir team did an amazing job. These 3 guys, we show up for Sunday, we get the job done, and the Michelin tires are great. Steve Cole, everybody, the K-Tech engines, Michelin tires, everyone did an amazing job. Most of all, you got to thank Chevrolet, because, man, if they weren't here, we wouldn't be winning races.
Johnny Red, congratulations. Let's go down to Brian once again.
Calvin GT winner Mark Lieb, 4 podium finishes, 3 poles in a row, but you got the monkey off your back, guys. You got the win.
Yeah, perfect. Everything was perfect today. I think we deserve the win. We're now the 4th time quickest on the track right now. Today we had the luck to win. I just want to thank everybody in the team. I want to thank Michelin, McKenna, Alex Job Racing. It's just a perfect day for us. Thanks.
Perfect day. You heard it, Lee. Perfect day.
Mark Lieb said to me earlier this morning that he didn't really like the Portland circuit. I'm sure he will change his opinion now. We have to get off quickly. We've got to go to Speed News. You can get full results of this race on Speed News. On behalf of Brian Till, Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader, I'm Lee Diffie. Thanks for joining us for Sports Cars on Speed, the Grand Prix of Portland.
And we're still with the American Le Mans Series season review on MotorsTV. 5 races down and 4 more to go in the year 2004. And we're going to bring you all the best moments from each and every race, from each and every category. So far this year, it's been an Audi domination with the team of Marco Werner and JJ Leto pretty much having things their own way. To open up this second half of the season for round 6, the ALMS Series made their way north to Canada, more specifically the Mosport circuit, home to the Canadian Grand Prix for many a year. And the question that was on the minds of everyone as they came to Mosport, could the dominating Audi R8 of JJ Leto and Marco Werner finally be beaten? In just a few seconds, we're going to relive all the highlights from Mosport and get the answer to that very interesting question.
Pace car with the lights off. We'll dive in along pit lane right now. And now through turn number 10, the field is in the control of James Weaver to the inside within inches of the 38th champion ADT Audi. Marco Werner side by side down the front straightaway. This is the slowest start I've seen in a while, and we do have a green flag.
Contact already.
Just a little bit of a touch in the midst of things. We've got the Dyson car, the 16 of James Weaver, in the lead, but Marco Werner drives to the inside into turn number 2. Doesn't have enough speed to take advantage of it, though. A great battle right off the top. I was amazed at how slow they came down the front straightaway.
Yeah, and I did see some bodywork flying, so there was midfield contact. I think it was a couple of GT cars there.
Yeah, everybody, James Weaver tried to hold him back as much as he possibly could for the look of it, and then decided to take off halfway through turn number 1. The takeoff through turn number 1 thing worked well for him. He and Marco Werner are nose to tail around that piece of the racetrack. Down the top of turn number 3, the left-hand corner number 4, as they approach the south-hand piece of the racetrack. 10 turns in all here at Mosport Park, and actually this is one of the faster tracks that we've got in the race series. The average speed around the racetrack here, as far as the pole sitter, is in excess of 130 miles an hour. If something happens and you make a mistake, it's going to happen fast.
Absolutely. Everybody's carrying a ton of speed in these corners, and they've really got to be cognizant of that when they're riding side by side.
Actually, some of the body work is the 50 Panos. It
It's
doesn't
the
have a hood
Celine.
anymore.
The Panos has lost its front hood, so he may be coming in early. I was going to mention David Celine's very aggressive, a guy to watch, but I think it's caught him out in this circumstance.
There it goes.
Oh, boy. Actually, it
looks
landed
like it
on
landed
top of
in
the
pit
pit
lane.
wall. Yeah, that could have been nasty if it landed anyplace else. It flew quite a distance, and Dick Martin is bringing it back to its pit lane, and who knows, they may be able to reinstall it. And we've seen a lot of cars taped up. One of the features of the American Le Mans Series, and the Crone Barber crew, unfortunately, is well versed in it this year, is hey, if something breaks or if you have some kind of misfortune, you don't pack up the car and think about it for next week. You try to rebuild the car.
Yeah, you never give up. These are long races, and anything can happen. So even if you lose a few laps, you keep going hard. I mean, if it's a fixable deal, you fix it.
And as a matter of fact, there was a team a couple of years ago in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Larry Holt
That's
was
Multimatic
the
team. Yeah,
Multimatic team that
never
won,
give up. That's
won
our
the 675 class down there.
Yeah.
And you guys had to rebuild a transmission.
we had a rear end go out on us,
Yeah.
and it was a lot of work, but you persevere, and the result can come.
And was John Graham,
Greg Wilkins.
Greg Wilkins, and yourself managed to win the class that day because some people may have said, well, let's pack it up and we'll worry about the race when we get up in the morning. And and everybody's
Not at Multimatic. It's not the Canadian spirit.
Yeah, they said, hey, this it isn't done by any stretch, and if you can fix it in a couple of hours, well, we can do it in less. So let's make it happen.
Yeah, that goes back to the Gilles Villeneuve days, where you just don't give up. There's pieces falling off the car. There's no wheels on it. You just got to keep going till the end.
And actually, the Multimatic folks, getting back to the original thought process. We've got a lot of Multimatic folks involved with the Panos Esperati GTLM.
Yeah, the original Panos was designed and built in cooperation with Panos, and you see that right now. David Celine is not giving up. He's running around out there without a hood. I guess it's not upsetting the car aerodynamically, otherwise he'd be in.
Yeah.
So he'll just keep plugging away, and maybe in the first scheduled pit stop they can do some repairs.
Hey, fair enough. If you have the opportunity to run some more laps, that's what it's all about. As far as saving, even if it's one lap. Fuel economy is a big piece of not necessarily the American Le Mans Series. We've got almost 2 and 3/4 hour sprint races. Longer races, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. If you can go one more lap than anybody else, that's huge.
And especially at Le Mans, because the track's 8 miles long, so one lap is a huge advantage over the course of 24 hours.
And the Audi people have worked especially hard, as we understand it, at squeezing a little more fuel economy. And that technology is working its way into the street cars for the look of it too. And I've heard the Audi people are going to bring diesel cars to North America in the next couple of years. And the price of gasoline that I saw on the way in today, that'll sell. Yep. It's a winner. As far as the race on the circuit right now, we were working at lap number 4. 3 laps are in the books. James Weaver still the race leader. He's got just a fabulous margin of 0.6 of a second right now. Marco Werner hasn't let him get away by any stretch. We've got Chris Field, John Field running right behind him. Chris Dyson, pardon me, and John Field running 3rd and 4th, respectively. The 2 Corvettes are running within 1/10 of a second of each other. Ollie Gavin just in front of Johnny O'Connell. There's 2/10 of a second there. If you thought the race leaders were close, take a look at the battle for GTS. And that's a battle, as John Hindle said, that's an internecine battle. That's a battle between teammates. I have a feeling that they've been told to, hey, if you guys want to fight it out, live it up, but don't take the other guy on.
Yeah, they're teammates, but I tell you, every race, these 2 cars go head-to-head. Yep. And are aggressive with each other, and they race. They are not just putting on a parade here for Corvette. They are in a heated battle, and they're not going to give any quarters to each other.
Well, and both drivers obviously want to get to the front as quick as possible, and they both want to win, but they got to give each other the respect they need. Being teammates and all. It doesn't look very good taking your teammate out, that's for sure.
No, it's something you can only do once before somebody has to answer to somebody in the corner
that's
office
right.
of the building. As far as the GT class cars, we've got an amazing race happening out there as well. Lonnie Penchik in the 44 Flying Lizard Porsche, the bright red and silver car, just in front of the 24. The Alex Job machine of Mark Lieb. Then Johannes van Overbeek is find himself in third spot, and sandwiched in between that group is the 71 Viper of. We've got Jean-Philippe Belloc of the 71 machine, and then we catch up to a bunch of other cars out there. We've got Jörg Bergmeister. Right behind the 45 of Van Overbeek, the 23 car, that is, of Jörg Bergmeister, the 31 of David Murray, the number 43 car of Sasha Masson. All three of those cars are, from the look of it, within a second and a half of each other. We've got 4 cars, and they are battling for third place in GT. Again, one of the nicer things about the American Le Mans Series, if you lose track of a big battle up front, there's always one a little bit further back. Graham Tyler's taking care of our pit lane battles, and what's happening today, Graham?
Yeah, just catching up with the story on the number 50 panels that we saw losing that body panel. In fact, there are 2 panels that have been returned here, one courtesy of Dick Martin, the other arriving a few minutes later. And the team tell me that they actually saw these panels bowing during the practice and qualifying sessions and have been working hard to try and get an extra kit to secure them. The 4 corners are all well secured on the panels, but as the air gets under them, they found that the center of the panel was bowing up, and they figure that what happened is at the race start, there's so much turbulent air with all the cars taking off together that it just unsettled it that little bit more than at any other time this weekend, and it let go. Now, they have new panels that they can fit, but unless the car is performing so badly without them that they have to stop it, they'll wait until there's a yellow or a routine pit stop before they do anything about replacing those pieces.
Thanks very much, Graham. And while you were speaking, the 37 of John Field, running 4th in class in 4th overall and 4th in P1, as a matter of fact, fell off the racetrack, and that looked to be turn number 1, and didn't seem to contact, or 1 or 3, sorry. It was a right-hand corner. I wasn't sure which one it was. However, it didn't seem to touch anything and got the car rolling again.
Yeah, and right now, having driven prototypes the last couple of years, these guys, the leaders are now in traffic, and this can be the most frustrating part of the whole race. But it also offers up a lot of opportunities, and I think we might see a pass for the lead soon because they're going to be in the heat of the GT battle anytime.
Exactly, and that's I can't help but imagine that's what Marco Berna was almost hoping for. That sooner or later the traffic would loom into view, and sooner or later James Weaver has to make a decision. Does he try to go underneath somebody? Does he dare take a chance, or does he ease off and basically give Marco Berna the opportunity? He's got to be really daring and really a whole bunch lucky for the look of it.
It's tough because you got 2 aspects to look at. He's got to concentrate on holding that lead, try and pull away if he can and chip away at a bigger lead, but at the same time he's got to watch all this lap traffic and use that to his advantage and try and distance himself from second place.
And down the front straightaway, once again, putting lap number 7 in the books. There's a half-second difference between those two. And Marco Berna didn't have the fastest of the laps. Maybe took a little bit more time to get around somebody. However, the fastest car on the racetrack the last time around was Chris Dyson. And I don't know whether either of you gentlemen have had the opportunity to watch Chris drive in Portland, but he really put on a great show for a young guy driving these big prototype cars. Chris has really come a long way in a short time.
Yeah, that was a great drive. He held off the Audi, I think, for about half an hour there. It was pretty impressive. But right now the leaders are into the GT ranks, and I tell you, the problem is these GT guys are going so hard at each other. They don't really care what's coming up behind them. It's so competitive in GT. You have to just race hard the whole time, and they're coming on the leaders right now.
And now Graham Tyler down in pit lane.
Yeah, I just want to have a quick word with David Murray from the Peterson team. Just saw an amazingly quick fuel stop there.
This is the most exciting racing at GT today that's ever been, I think. The Job cars came in, stopped, and took on 2 rear tires. We came in for a splash and go, which put us ahead. So they're going to have better tires. They'll be catching us, but I'm hoping there's not enough time. And right now, it's looking pretty good for us.
Just a little way to go. It's going to be fingernail biting stuff.
It's been that way for the last 2 hours for me. I'm so glad that Craig stands in the car. I wouldn't trust it to anybody. He's such an awesome driver, cool cucumber, and he'll be great.
There you go. That's David Murray's take on things. They think they got out ahead, Jim.
6 minutes minutes left in the contest, according to the race officials just across the way at the start-finish line. 6 minutes to go as we take a look down at the Jean Richard watch right beside the official starter for the American Le Mans Series, Dennis Paul, standing in the sunshine today. I'm wondering whether Dennis Paul wore his sunscreen, because he sure should need it today. I think just about everybody the last couple of days gave up on sunscreen, gave up on short-sleeve shirts, and left the shorts back at their hotels or their houses. But today, it's definitely the order of the day. It's turned into a bright, sunny summer day. From what I understand, Scott, or to be honestly, in this part of the world, waited to see summer until today. It's been kind of missing so far.
Well, we've had a few days here and there, but it's been kind of a lousy spring and summer so far. But this is certainly a beautiful day for racing.
Beautiful day for racing, and it's really unfortunate. Again, we got a chance to talk one last time to Scott Maxwell, who's been nice enough to join us from the Kronbarber Lamborghini team. The car's withdrawn because they need some bits and pieces to revise before we go to Road America in another couple of weeks' time. Thanks again for your time and trouble.
It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of fun, and we'll be back next year, hopefully a Kronbarber team with the Lamborghinis, and they'll be stronger and a lot faster.
Neater and sweeter next year. I can't wait. Fabulous looking automobiles. If you never get the opportunity to see them race before, come on out to a racetrack, even if you just see them during the autograph session, because they're worth paying the admission just to take a look. Great looking cars, and I'd like to thank Tracy Cronin and Dick Barber for bringing the Lamborghinis and putting together a great looking team.
Yeah, it is, and Lamborghini Toronto, Lamborghini Canada, they're all here today, so they're supporting the event even without the Lamborghinis in it, so that's great.
Great job, and thanks again, Scott, for your time and trouble. Lee Betham, again, hey, a tremendous job. We're going to get you to stick around a little bit more and talk to everybody while Graham Tyler and I get ready for the awards presentation on the victory podium. And the reason I'm saying that is because we're inside 5 minutes before the end of this contest. None of these races are conclusively decided yet. As they say, like if there's a fat lady that should be warming up, I haven't seen her yet.
That's right.
Who knows?
She still has a little time yet, so she can stay in the background. I mean, Leto's, he's whittled that down to 25 seconds now. I don't know. He's going to have to work pretty hard to get up there in the next 4 minutes or so. But unless something happens to Butch in traffic or whatever, that's going to be a big chunk of time to try and take away. So that's going to be a lot of work there.
Well, it's going to be a big chunk of work. James Weaver, fresh from the physiotherapist, looks to be as refreshed as James Weaver has ever been. And he's pretty happy about the way things have gone today in the number 16 car, the race leader with a 16-second advantage. J.J. Leto is still pedaling awfully hard. He's in a 111.1 the last time by compared to Butch Leitzinger's 114. Butch has done a pretty fair job. He's been fast when he's needed to be, and as it stands right now, he doesn't need to be. Andy Wallace, on the other hand, still turning 111.7s. Andy Wallace and it seems like Chris Dyson, they did not have the same car they had in qualifying. The car seemed to be a little bit closer, but the tweaks that they made to the car to hopefully make it as quick as the 16 car went the wrong way. And it happens some days.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
you can't win them all.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's all educated guesses. Scott, the Lamborghini team, from time to time, like they may make one change in the car, and it might make a quantum difference in things. By the time you've had the cars for a couple of years, the way Dyson has had with the Lolas, if you make a little tweak in the car, it might make a quantum change, but it'll go the other way because you've already tried the easy stuff. So.
Well, they really had to guess on the weather, too. I mean,
yes.
They might not have assumed that it was going to be quite this warm and clear and sunny. And, running the car the first couple of days, and, overcast skies, and it was quite a bit colder. I mean, so it's really anybody's guess.
Yeah, it's been a changeable forecast. The weather forecast I've been complimenting everybody around the racetrack for the last 24 hours. Just stunning. And on the other side of the coin, the last couple of days we're way cooler than everybody has been used to in Canada in August. In this part of Canada, certainly. It was a little bit chilly. We didn't see a bunch of rain or any other kind of precipitation, but it set the stage for a fabulous race today, and it has been a great one. As we approach the final minute and a half of the contest today, Butch Leitzinger, J.J. Leto still 1 and 2 within 30 seconds of each other, now 20 seconds of each other, as J.J. Leto slowly but surely has been easing into the race lead that Butch Leitzinger has developed. The biggest telling point of the race came nearly 45 minutes ago. J.J. Leto pressing very, very hard to catch up to Butch Leitzinger in the 16 car, which they've been doing almost all day long. had a tire go down or literally locked up the brakes. We're not sure which happened first, but ended up exiting the racetrack at corner number 5, having some pretty substantial contact with the tire wall. Didn't, from the look of it, do any major damage to the automobile, but lost a lot of time bringing the car in, changing tires, etc., etc.
And certainly handed it to them on a silver platter.
Exactly. Butch Leitziger and James Weaver on the other side of the coin, as you made mention, had things go their way all day long. It's been their race, and to be honest, the number 4 Corvette, the same kind of story. They've been 100% all day long. The 3 car just a fraction of a second slower as the yellow flag comes out. One more lap for the race leader. Butch Leitziger has to go around one more time. 2.459 miles at Mossport. Just over 3.5 kilometers, and it's going to be all done as the Corvettes are again nose to tail, and they don't know it yet, but there's one lap to go for them as well. Another one of the battles on the racetrack. We got 1.4 seconds the last time they went by, and there's a whole bunch less than 1.4 seconds in turn 5.
Oh yeah, and they're coming up to traffic now, and that's going to be real interesting for the last lap here. I'm sure O'Connell is hoping Gavin's going to get held up a little bit by the couple of Porsches there. They're coming into the 910 complex, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's most definitely going to be interesting. The last lap as the 2 Corvettes come down the start-finish line. We'll get another look at Ollie Gavin and Johnny O'Connell. The 4 and 3 cars, the last time by, it went from 2 seconds to 6/10.
Yeah, he's on fire. He's on fire now.
This was going to be fun to watch. If there's going to be last lap dramatics, it's going to be happening at Team Corvette. Now, whether it's going to be happening on the racetrack or, as far as the crowd is concerned, the people with Team Corvette, the race leader exits turn number 10 down the front straightaway. Butch Leitziger wins the Toronto Grand Prix of Mossport. The American Le Mans Series round number 6 goes to Butch Leitziger and the Rob Dyson Thetford team. A 100% effort by the team, there's no doubt about it. The champion Audi squad has won 4 races in a row, and it wasn't done by any stretch at the end. And now, within a car length and a half of each other, the Corvettes come back up the straightaway. I don't think they're going to give this one away. As far as GT race, we've got Timo Bernard in the 23, Alex Job car, the number 31, Peterson Motorsports Porsche of Craig Stanton. Darren Law will survive to be 3rd place overall in the number 45 machine. So all in all, Lee, Scott, thank you again for your time and trouble. It has been a very, very good day today.
Thanks
and
very much.
As far as the crowd is concerned, I'd like to remind everybody this one isn't done by any stretch. We got more racing to go.
Thanks, man. All right.
Scott's going to steal away and grab himself a good spot to watch another race, because we got more racing to come here at Mossport. We've got lots more awards presentations to have happen up on the flag stand too. So please don't go away, anybody, and stay with us. The American Le Mans Series around at Mossport, round number 6 in the history books. So we'll be back in just a moment. The awards presentation for Mossport, the American Le Mans Series round number 6 is history. It's been a great day, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. We do have a ton more to do. We've got to be joining you at the victory podium in a moment.
The American Le Mans Series. Cool cars, world-class drivers, premier road courses. Born in France in 1923 with the first running of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the ALMS is the glamour, the glory, and the grueling reality of sports car racing. European style with American attitude. Drivers from around the world strut their speed, skill, and endurance. 4 separate classes racing on the track at the same time. It is the chain that connects the new and the faithful sports car fans of an extraordinary endurance racing tradition. This is the American Le Mans Series.
And my co-driver is James Weaver. My name is James Weaver. I'm from Athens, Georgia. I'm driving the number 10 Miracle Motorsports P2 entry. My co-drivers are Ian James.
I'm Oliver Gavin. I drive the number 4 CompuWare Chevrolet Corvette, and my teammate is Olivier Beretta.
Hi, I'm Jörg Bergmeister. I'm driving the number 23 McKenna Milton Webb Alex Job Racing Porsche together with Timo Bernhard.
And the rest of the grid at the top of your screen with the speed strip cars rolling here at Road America. Dorsey, what's the real key here? What's the key for victory at this track?
Well, you're going to see the guys in the front of prototypes really be aggressive, particularly the 2 Dyson cars that are 1-2 on the front row. They're going to really go hard early on because you can get a lot of gain right away and get this thing broken up.
Let's get it down to Brian Till for an update.
Well, guys, one of the things that has changed down here is the weather. We've got a good wind out of the south that we have not had all weekend long, and that's going to make the car slow up the front straightaway, but it's going to give them a big tailwind down into turn 5. Some of the guys already on the rev limiter throughout the weekend. They have a big tailwind now, and couple that with a draft, they could be bouncing off the rev limiter significantly down towards the braking zone. That could make pulling out to pass difficult.
Round 7 of the American Le Mans Series. The Road America 500 is underway, and poleman Butch Leitzinger leads into turn 1. Look at this. J.J. Leto thinks about it on the inside on Chris Dyson, then thinks twice.
Chris Dyson had none of that. He just moved right over and said, no, you're not past me right there anyway.
Well, this battle resumes. It was scintillating at Portland. Chris Dyson versus J.J. Leto, and now John Field wants to buy into it, and he's turned J.J. Leto around.
Field gets into the back of J.J. and spins the Audi. That only in turn 3.
Oh, we've got Portland all over again. Oh boy, J.J. Leto will be fuming.
Yeah,
now watch this comeback.
Shaking his head in there. He just can't believe that that just happened.
So it's Leitzinger, Chris Dyson, then John Field, and Leto back on track, and there is a huge fight about to begin.
He will not be a happy man, but getting by all these other cars, at least on this racetrack, there's a lot of racing room, so it's easier to be done here than it is in some places.
Let's take a look at a replay of that incident. Exactly what happened. We ride with Leto.
Listen here. Yeah, just a little tap in the quarter panel. That's all she takes. From the outside looking in. Look, Field goes to the inside. Just tries not to hit him, but touches. Doesn't take much.
It must have just been very minor.
Doesn't take much. I tell you, when you're in the corner that deep, a little bump like that and around you go. But remember, the tires are very cold right now as well.
And John Field's a smart man. He was just being, he was just trying to make the most of that opportunity because he saw JJ go to the outside trying to go around Chris, and he thought, I'll dive on the inside.
Cold tires played an issue in that too. I mean, the Audi spun quite easily because it was on cold tires. If they didn't warm, that probably would not have spun the tire.
Butch Leitzinger leads the Road America 500. You're looking at Chris Dyson and John Field battling hard here for second. And it's great to see the Intersport Lola back in the hunt. And we've lost the 31, the Peterson White Lightning machine. Craig Stanton has spun.
That's a spin down in Canada corner. And I bet no contact yet. That's good news.
Stand corrected there. My apologies. It is Dave Murray in the car. Dave Murray in the Peterson White Lightning Porsche. They did an excellent job in qualifying yesterday. Craig Stanton actually qualified the car and stole third away from the Racers group right in the last moments of qualifying. Let's take a look at what happened today.
It's past the corner, so I'm thinking there's going to be some contact here. Right there, just to the outside, gets on the gravel, around he goes. 71 moves him over and just gets in. Once you get in that gravel, that was a good job by somebody going on the outside there.
I think that was Darren Law that just rounded him up. Update from race control, no penalty to John Field. They have reviewed the situation and have decided no disciplinary action to John Field. And again, fair call, Dawes?
Yeah, I think so. Again, I think if the tires had been warm, that wouldn't have been a spin. It was just a racing bump, but on cold tires, it's just not much there.
Check this out, though. Field is running, and he's hounding Chris Dyson.
Field really loose there. You saw him come off that turn 7 and get up on the curve. Here's the run out of 8 down into the carousel.
Into the carousel as that fight for second goes on. Remember, in the American Le Mans Series, all 4 classes on the track at the one time. P1, P2, that's the prototype classes. GTS and this class, GT, and both Alex Job Porsches, Jörg Bergmeister and Mark Lieb, running first and second in this class.
Well, David Murray, not a very happy race car driver right now. They were in the lead of GT when that incident happened. He said the car seems to be fine, but not at all happy with the 71 car that was beside him that pushed him to the outside, especially leading the race like that. He said those guys have to pay attention. They've got to be aware of where we are.
That was a very experienced driver behind the wheel, too, Jean-Philippe Belloc in the 71 Car Sport Viper. Now it's Alex Job Racing, 1 and 2. The poleman leads the way. Let's find out where J.J. Leto is and his comeback. He's sitting in 9th, where he was last time round. Make that a little bit higher now as he gets past Clint Field. He's up to 5th now, and he's got the P2 class leader, Ian James, is the next one on his list.
That's quite a story. Ian James in that car for the first time. This car just flown over and got here on Wednesday. Nice to see the Courage, a beautiful car.
There's about 5 or so folks from Courage here working on that car, doing a nice job, and it's got a lot of attention this week, Cal.
It really has, and one of the concerns for Ian James with the Courage was the fact that they've switched from the Michelins to the Yokohama tyres, and they were really throwing a curveball. Only about 10 days ago they made the decision to buy that Courage, so the Yokohama boys have been working double overtime. They got a good consistent tyre, but Ian said the main concern was getting the tyres up to temperature in these early laps, but so far so good. Looks like he's running strong.
That's a good point, Calvin, because in practice, James Gouet at the wheel did not get the tires up to temperature and had a crash with that car on the opening day, doing significant damage to the underneath side of it because of cold tires.
And the man behind the name, Yves Courage, is here, overseeing things with the Miracle Motorsports team. It's a miracle that it actually made it here in time. So those guys will be very pleased to see Ian James at the top of the list in Prototype 2. And you get that feeling it's going to be a great battle between those guys. And just wait for JJ. He is coming on strong. 4th overall. He's about 12 or 13 seconds down on our race leader at the moment. We'll update you. He's got 11 seconds to make up on John Field. It'll be interesting to watch. Road America is certainly one of the most favorite tracks for the drivers. Let's see what they have to say. We have it. JJ Leto has made very quick work of this. Catching John Field. John has a quick look, has another look in the mirror. He knows JJ's there. He's coming fast.
He's coming very fast. 2 seconds a lap, this will be a no contest. And this is where the bump happened up turn 1. Look here.
Back to the scene of the crime. JJ had a look, but not quite close enough.
Field using all the road, drops a wheel out in the ditch right there, and clouts JJ with a bunch of mud. That always makes you mad as a driver, too, when these open cockpit cars. Look at the speed that the field cars got. Huge speed on this. Oh, blocks up the brake. Good save right there. Really fighting hard with that Audi.
The red and blue prototype up ahead is John Field. Then the white and blue one is Chris Dyson as they come by Brian Willman. Whoa!
Brian saw him and stayed out of the way wisely.
I think JJ's view may have been blocked a little there from John Field, and I'm not sure that he was aware of Brian Willman coming up.
Here, look at this. Late dive bomb attempt.
Great stuff. How long will it take? Will he be able to make short work of this?
Yeah, the field car much lighter, that's for sure, so it's got the advantage when it comes into those situations.
Now let's watch it. Straight line speed. Field versus
absolutely
Leto.
Flat out through the kink, flat in 6th gear. Awesome speed.
Down into Canada corner. He looks at it, thinks about it, but he's not there. Meanwhile, as we enjoy these 3 guys, up front, Butch Leitzinger has checked out. 8 seconds he's got over these guys. He's enjoying a very clear, clean run.
I spoke to John Field before the green today, Lee, and he mentioned the fact that they'd been running what they believed was their high downforce nose configuration. This racetrack typically indicates you're going to get a lot of high-speed understeer with the nature of the racetrack. What they found was it was a nose that they'd built themselves and had been built too low. It was actually sealing off the air going to the front of the car and ruining the aerodynamics, so they actually switched to a lower downforce setup for the warm-up this morning and found that they had a much better balance on the race car.
Now they're tight. Look at this. Field has made an impression on the margin to Dyson as well as they come up on the back of Dave Murray and the Peterson White Lightning Porsche.
Look at these. The lighter cars really have the straightaway speed on the Audi. The Audi's not able to run.
Field's going for it on the inside. John Field on Chris Dyson. Gets it.
Got it done perfect. And look, he's going to bring... And there was a bump right there. Leto goes with him. Takes Chris Dyson.
Dyson wants to come back. Switches back to the inside. He's not quite close enough. Good hard driving from John Field. He slips through on Dave Murray now. Let's take a look at that again. This is from the onboard shot, and Chris Dyson wants payback. He wants to get by JJ Leto.
I think he'll do it on the straightaway if I'm correct about the speed of these cars.
Let's take a look at that replay of the pass from Leto.
Right on board, perfectly executed down into 5. Look, this opens just a little bump right there. He did definitely touch, not intentionally, but Chris Dyson went back by, and I think he's going to be able to do it the straightaway. I think it's going to be quicker.
Field, Leto, Dyson.
We'll know here in 2 corners when they go up the front straightaway who's got the straightaway speed. And we've got lap cars. really holding up John Field a little bit right there.
Come past the 44 of Lonnie Pechnik. That's one of 2 Flying Lizard Porsches. So it's Lola Judd leading the Audi R8. And then Chris Dyson in the Lola AER. This is pretty interesting stuff. We give you our class leaders as we go to the break. And we thoroughly enjoyed the flyover, the 4 F-16s earlier today.
Well, here we are back at the circuit where the battle is raging for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th positions, because Butch Leitzinger has opened up a lead of about 8 seconds over the squabble that's going on behind him, involving John Field in his Lola, J.J. Leto making his comeback in the Audi, and of course Chris Dyson in the other Lola. So what we saw a very nice passing move by J.J. Leto and John Field on Chris Dyson. Chris I think he was caught maybe a little bit unawares as such, and there was a slight bump between himself and JJ. So at the moment I see JJ is making a passing attempt on John Field, but John's not having any of it for the moment, and on the straightaway his speed draws him away from the Audi, and now we're back with the 2 Corvettes, with Olivier Beretta, Frenchman, leading Ron Fellows, the Canadian, and the gap between them is well, not much more than 1 second, I would say. Now, these 2 guys, of course, are fighting it out in the LMGTS category, and at present we have Fellows and O'Connell on 118 points, and Gavin and Beretta on 85. So Gavin and Beretta, they really need to win this race in order to keep in the hunt. And still no change up front for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th places. John Field 2nd, J.J. Leto 2nd, and Chris Dyson may use the straight line speed of his Lola to have a go at J.J. Leto on one of the straightaways. Porsche pulls in, blocks the Audi a little bit, but as I say, we see John Field drawing away, and Chris Dyson is getting closer and closer. Now, is he going to have a go at him? Is he going to have a go at him? He's not close enough. He's getting closer. So, back to our American commentators.
Tonight on Speed at 9 p.m. Eastern, the latest round of the FIA World Rally Championship. It is Rally Germany tonight at 9 Eastern, right here on Speed. Welcome back to Road America. This battle continues, and J.J. Leto really has been the comeback king this year. Portland was very eventful for him, and let's enjoy those moments one more time. Scrapping for the lead. Well, in fact, he was in the lead when he came in contact with Tim Sugden. As they spun off the track, he got back on track, then wanted to fight with Leitzinger. Leitzinger spun. IMSA decided he needed a stop and go for that. He came back time after time. Then he finally caught Chris Dyson. Then he spun himself. So for the 3rd time, he had to come back through the field. Then he got hit from behind. Boy, oh boy. And oh, look at this. Has there been contact? You kind of think so, don't you?
Well, that's turn 5 again in the brake zone down there. It happens a lot. Big old smoky burnout as he gets going.
Now, let's take a look at what happened between John Field and J.J. Leto down in turn 5.
You can't get away with anything anymore, not with all the cameras we have. We'll see right here.
Well, there you go.
Actually, no, he's got in trouble by himself, locks up, rear brake, gets on the outside in the gravel and spins. J.J. had nothing to do with that. Just a mistake.
So that was the easy passage through for J.J.
Certainly was.
He now moves into 2nd, and then we begin to monitor the lead margin for Butch Leitzinger. Can he whittle it away? Right here on Speed, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series continues. The O'Reilly 200 presented by Valvoline Max Life from Bristol, Wednesday at 9, and that is live. Back at Road America and back at the front of the field, J.J. Leto has been working overtime to catch race leader Butch Leitzinger.
No more overtime involved. He's caught him. He's right there. He's running a second a lap, sometimes more than that, faster than Butch Leitzinger's able to run. Butch is running 155s. JJ's running 154s.
63 is on pit road. Brian, tell us more. Terry Borcheller has brought the Saleen in. It looked like it was going to be a routine stop, but they're having a lengthy conversation on the radio. All kinds of problems with this car yesterday. They had to change the entire brake system because they had a vibration that they could not find the cause of. They changed the entire brake system. It seemed to go away. But that was one of the reasons for their bad qualifying. Another reason could be Terry Borcheller has a very sore foot. In practicing pit stops yesterday, as he was getting out of the car, they dropped the car off the air jacks onto his left foot. That left foot is very sore, and Borcheller right now really having a conversation, a very intense conversation. You can tell by his hand motions inside the car with Jim Bell. Hopefully all is right with this Saleen.
They finish up, just bringing you up to date with more news on the Clintfield Robin Liddell situation. Allegedly they were working on the car on that back road back into the paddock, Dorsey, and you're not allowed to do that.
Right. Well, we saw Clintfield go down there off of turn 5, and he tried to make it through the chicane. I guess they went down to the car to fix the throttle linkage, and here's almost a pass for the lead right there.
Battle at the front, hots up. J.J. Lato versus Butch Leitzinger, Dyson versus Champion. And we said right at the top of the show that the 16 of Leitzinger and Weaver need to win today to stay in this championship fight and really apply the pressure to Lato and Werner, and that's exactly what they're doing. Tremendous run so far.
Butch Leitzinger responds with a 1:54.9, his quickest race lap so far. The Audi at a 54.8, just a tenth quicker that time. Catching up with someone is one thing. Now getting by is another. Because of the differences in the two cars, you can break the momentum. And the Audi will be in dirty air. That Lola puts out a lot of air from behind it.
With more on the 16, here's Calvin.
It's actually on the 20, Lee. They've actually effected a repair on the 20 machine. This is the tiny little wastegate. What had happened, supposedly, is the 37 car had hit Chris Dyson in the rear, hitting the tailpipe. That's then connected to this wastegate, and you can see here where it's actually fractured around. He also destroyed the anti-roll bar. This is the bit that controls the suspension sway between the two sides of the race car, so they had to fix this as well. So certainly a lot of problems, but he is back on track, and he needs those valuable championship points for his teammate, Andy Wallace. Let's go down to Brian Tell.
Well, we saw the Saleen in. It has gone back out. I checked with Jim Bell about the conversation he and Terry Borcheller were having. It seems the vibration problem that we spoke of during the stop is back. When the car got hot yesterday, that's when the vibration picked up, and that's exactly what we've seen today. They don't know what it is. As we said, they changed the entire braking system. That obviously was not the problem. Not a happy race car, especially on this very high-speed circuit.
That's a good point, Brian. You're running around here at 180 miles an hour, and vibrations always give you an indication that things are not going to fix themselves. Vibrations are a clue to something bad going wrong. It needs to be addressed right away.
And as a result of that stop, they have handed over third place in the GTS category to the car sport team. Jean-Philippe Belloc has moved into that top 3 spot. It's still Beretta and Fellows 1 and 2 in GTS. And Olivier Beretta has a 7-second lead over Ron Fellows at the moment.
So you see how fragile that the little prototype cars that Dyson runs are. That hit that it took from the Audi was not much of a hit at all, but it hit right on the tailpipe, right on the exhaust pipe, and it fractured that wastegate, which takes all the boost away and all the power.
In GT, it's been a thrilling run today, as well as the 2 Alex Joe cars going hard at it. This young man, Patrick Long, has had a wonderful run. He maintains his 3rd spot. Sasha Masno for BAM. Coming in, teaming up with Leo Hendry. He's, Mark Lieber's spun.
Big spin. You see the marks right there. That's in a very fast portion of the racetrack.
GT class leader, or he was. And that's communication from Jörg Bergmeister. Here's what happened.
Well, something on that car broke. You see that? Off to the side there. Off to the side there was a piece of, I think it might have broken a brake rotor. That's down in turn 3. He broke really hard and something came off the car. Something broke on that car.
Now Mark will not be able to get going again, and this more than likely will bring out a full course caution. He's in a bit of a hairy position. He's trying to get going again.
We're hearing that maybe that was a drive shaft that broke. The rear axle broke. Possibility there. Something definitely snapped, and you could see a big hunk of metal. Now that
gets himself out of danger there.
Yeah, I think the other.
Wow.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
Now, Chris Dyson has come in to serve his 1-minute penalty. And now it will not start.
something burn up. He's smelling some bad. Oh, look, look at here. Left rear axle or something's crashed out of that car. You saw it right on the brake, right when it got on the brake. Something flew out. I think it's the left rear axle was giving up the ghost.
Well, let's have a look at the replay of that again, and Dorsey, talk us through where he broke very aggressively sideways.
Watch up here. You see a little smoke, and that's because there it snapped right now. And here goes the piece over there, landing in the weeds. That's a scary crash when you have something break like that at 40 or 50 miles an hour right there. Wow, this is going to be a lot of damage by the time he gets around this 4-mile circuit and back to the pit lane.
Since their victory at Portland, this has been a very trying time for the 24 team. Let's get down to the pits. Here's Carl.
I'm here with Alex Job, and Alex, you had a chance to look at the monitor. Any clue as to what may have broken on the race car?
We're not sure. Something broke in the left rear suspension, it appears. The wheels cocked on an angle. He's trying to drive it in.
Okay, we're going to try and get back here and effecting the repair, and we understand the number 20 car has been in the penalty box. That was for having too many crew members over the wall affecting that repair on the wastegate.
Well, to make matters worse, Chris Dyson has come down to the penalty box to serve that penalty. The car began to overheat, a lot of smoke out of the back end. He had to shut it down, and now the car will not restart. We heard him on the radio a moment ago saying, I've recycled the ignition and everything else. It turns over, but it will not fire, so their problems continue. Not a good day for the Dyson team. Lee?
Speaking of prototypes, Butch Leitzinger still maintains the lead. Yes, he's holding J.J. Leto off. He's got about a second over him at the moment, and John Field still stays in third. Here we are, back with the race for the lead. And nobody else has led this race other than Butch Leitzinger.
Interesting to note that J.J. Leto was over 2 seconds a lap quicker than Butch at Kelly Potter. Now he's running exactly the same pace, and that's why I'm talking about momentum around here. Once you get to the back of another car, it just knocks all your wind out of your sails.
The Dyson Lola AER is flying.
Butch is on a rampage right now.
See third and fourth in GT there. Patrick Long, Sasha Masson. Drivers getting ready. Pit stops coming up shortly. Back at Road America, first hour down in this 2 3/4 hour. And poleman Butch Leitzinger got a great start, and it was a frantic opening lap. John Field, minor contact with J.J. Leto, but it was enough to send the Finn around. Then he was very aggressive on the inside, got through on Chris Dyson. J.J. Leto also got way through. Then John Field spun all by himself while being pursued by J.J. Leto after the champion driver played catch-up. In GT, it's been Alex Job Racing 1 and 2. Bergmeister led early, but he ran wide, and that opened up the door for Mark Lee. Clint Field ran into problems. Broken throttle cable, tried to get back, and the team worked on that car in an illegal area. Problems too for Team Buckingham Racing, but it's been a beautiful run for the new Courage for Miracle Motorsport, Ian James and James Gouet. Problems though for Dyson. Chris Dyson, after running well in the top 3, they got that car finally going again, and whilst leading Mark Lieb, problems for him, broken rear suspension part, and that sent him spinning around in a long, long journey back to pit road. Calvin.
16 car was on pit road. It looked like a routine stop, and then Butch struggled to get it fired up, and now he's struggling to get it underway. Remember, we've seen this in the past. The fuel rail gets a vapor lock, and it gets very hard for these drivers to just get the car moving. He's underway, should be okay now.
And as you can see, J.J. Leto went... J.J. Leto went whipping by.
Trouble on the Dyson car. You hear Butch Leitzinger saying that it can't get the motor to run, can't get it cleared out.
Calvin.
The leader in GTS is in, and it's going to be Ollie Gavin taking over from Olivier Beretta. This team are just working hard against one another. They realize right now in GTS they don't have the strongest competition in numbers, but they're working really hard just to keep up with their game, looking to head next year and see some really fast competition in GTS. So right now these boys, they're looking for their third victory of the season. Looks like a routine stop down here, Lee.
The Corvette boys do it so well. Ollie Gavin now strapped in and ready to go. And make no mistake, they want to beat their sister car of Johnny O'Connell and Ron Fellows.
These crew guys that Doug Behan has put together for this Corvette team are the best of the best. They came from years of IMSA experience, years of Trans Am experience. All of those guys at one time or another were either on the Roush team or were on one of the top GM teams. They have worked together for 2 decades, I would say now.
The 4 back out on track. We will watch this Corvette battle with much interest today, as Johnny O'Connell is now behind the wheel of the 3, Gavin behind the 4. So new race leader, AJ Leto for ADT champion Audi. And we'll see if Butch Leitzinger can now play the catch-up game. He led very, very well from start to the point that he pitted. We'll see what he can come up with. In GT land, the 23 of Jörg Bergmeister, the pole man who did a brilliant job yesterday in qualifying. He leads the way over the New Century Mortgage car. Patrick Long is zeroing in. So too is Sascha Massen in the BAM Porsche, 2nd and 3rd in class, chasing the German down. More on the Alex Job Racing situation from the 24 car, and the man who was behind the wheel, Mark Lieb, is with Cal.
Well, Mark is just pulling his overalls up, and Mark, scary moment there going down into turn 3. Did you have any indication there was a problem before that?
No, nothing. The car was running really perfect. It was really a really good fight with Jörg. It was really a lot of fun. Then I was going into turn 1, was going over the curb, and then suddenly the suspension broke. So it's really bad luck. I don't know what to say more. I mean, finally we had a good run again, and every time something happens, I mean, it's just amazing.
Every time you get in the lead, it seems like something goes wrong. Talk about Mosport. You had the problem there. Hang on, we're going to break that up and go down to Brian with the 16 car.
Calvin, Mark Lieb talked about bad luck. Well, I think it's come down here to Dyson Racing. Butch Leitzinger is back in. We saw him have problems get the car started and away, and we heard him on the radio say it hasn't cleaned out. He had to go 4 miles around the racetrack, and when it did come into pit lane, it sounded absolutely horrible. These guys looking around in the engine compartment to see if they can determine the problem. But these long Road America straightaways really take their toll on these little power plants, guys.
Sounds like it's the same problem. They've got a broken header down by the wastegate. I just heard a mechanic saying the thing that's on with Chris Dyson. Chris thought maybe because he was in an accident and got hit. But this is the same breakage, it sounds like.
Boy, oh boy. What a frustrating day. Frustration in the Dyson camp. First the 20, now the 16. Incidentally, Chris Dyson in the 20 is back in 20th position.
Oh, that's a lengthy repair. Like I say, you got to pull the exhaust headers off, you got to pull the wastegate off. All those are hot parts, and you have to replace them also. They're not going to win today.
So while it was tough going early for JJ Leto in the ADT champion Audi, it's smooth running now, and that looks like day done as Rob Dyson shakes the hand of Butch Leitzinger and says, well done for your work earlier. But it's all over for now. Quick break. Stay with us. More from Road America in a few moments.
Family championship. Well, it sounds really good. Everything went so well today. And also for myself, because I have been fighting for the championship for many, many times, and I think that was 1988 last time I won a championship, so it really feels good, and for the team as well, Dave Maras and the whole team, they've been working so hard all year. And also last year when we started together, we were really close to win it, but it didn't work out last year, so this year has been so good. I'm happy.
And after the victory for Leto and Werner at the American Le Mans Series Round 7 from Road America, J.J. Leto and his teammate Marco Werner on equal 138 points, with Andy Wallace in third. Ian James is 4 points ahead of James Gu, and Clint Field 47 with Robin Liddell as well in the T2 class. In GTS, the current point standings are the following. Ron Fellows and Johnny O'Connell are equal 134. The Corvette teammates are followed by their own teammates Olivier Beretta. In GT, it's Timo Bernhard and Johannes van Overbeek. And after the commercial break, we're going to send you the 2 final rounds of the year. The Petit Le Mans from Road Atlanta and Laguna Seca, the season finale from California under the lights. A first time ever for the California Road Circuit.
Let's get it started. Ha! Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Ha! Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Ha! Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Ha! Let's get it started in here.
We are about to get running right here at Road Atlanta. Welcome back live on Speed Channel, everyone. Round 8 of the American Le Mans Series. The Chevy presents Petit Le Mans. It is a 10-hour marathon, one of the most eagerly anticipated events of the year. And I'm pleased to say our 2 expert analysts today, 2 gentlemen who have succeeded and enjoyed victory here at Road Atlanta, to talk us through the Porsche keys to the race. Good morning, Derek Daly, Dorsey Schrader.
Thank you, Lee. It is so great to be here at one of the great sports car endurance races in the world today. Now, the last time I raced here, I was fortunate enough to be part of one of the all-dominant Nissan GTP teams with Jeff Brabham. We won here, but only after our team manager drilled it into us on race morning. Don't get into trouble with traffic. Don't stick your nose in where it's not wanted. And don't trust any other driver in the race. You have to be so disciplined in traffic. And Dorsey, you've won here in the past. You know how torturous these corners can be on these tires.
Tire conservation can be a key issue to who wins this race. We know that Michelin would like to see their tires double stinted. In other words, they would like to have 2 fuel loads of gas run through before the tires are changed. Now, the driver has a lot to do with what kind of rubber is left at the end of that second stint.
And our third Porsche key to the race is the physical difficulties these drivers will face. It is hotter than normal. I have seen more red-faced, sweaty-haired, sweaty-faced drivers in practice, which tells me this will be physically very difficult as we go on through the afternoon. Now, Dorsey, let's take a look at the track map, because this track really has everything you could want in a great race circuit.
Road Atlanta is one of the great racetracks, very, very quick. In fact, turn 1 is straight uphill right there. You go up at 2.5 G's of cornering force, 145 miles per hour. On the other hand, here, the S's go downhill steeply, and you reach a speed of 160 up on this back straightaway. But the real number is down here, the long straightaway running down to turn 10. These cars will hit 185 miles per hour before they brake. One of the scariest corners, turn 12, 146 through there.
And 146 through turn 1. But yesterday, the tires had so much grip from the downforce of these cars, it literally tore up the racetrack. Last night, you can see what happened. They took in the construction workers. They dug about a foot deep for about 80 feet long. They have replaced the apex of turn 1 with a concrete strip. Now, we don't know whether that will last or how good that will be as the day goes on. But that is an unusual anomaly, Lee, that the drivers are now faced with.
Right, drivers here who have succeeded and enjoyed victory usually know where they're going around Road Atlanta. There's a lot of newcomers to Petit Le Mans, 25 in total, and 8 drivers making their American Le Mans Series debut, and amongst those, some very fast drivers indeed, and we'll highlight that for you throughout the day. Your full field scrolling at the top of your screen, and a couple of updates there. The 93 Certec Porsche of former Le Mans winners Stefan Ortelli and Christian Bouchou will start from the back. So too will the BAM Porsche for changing tyres after flat spotting in qualifying yesterday. So 2 GT cars doing it a little tougher from the back, but 2 very, very classy GT cars. The Chevy presents Petit Le Mans 2004 is underway. and they have to take the fight to the ADT champion Audi team. Will we see a surprise victor today?
And the two Audis are not even first and second, because that awesome Zytek car that's currently chasing James Weaver leading has been the class of the show here, and it's been spectacular all through practice and qualifying.
Marco Werner chasing fellow German Pierre Kaffer. They sit third and fourth at the moment. It is James Weaver, the pole master, who leads from Nicholas Manassian, the former champ car driver, sits second in that incredibly quick Zytek. Will it have something for these regulars? We'll find out.
These guys right now do a feeling out time on the lap. They're just going to get the cars up in temperature, get those tires up and pressure built up so they're not bottoming so hard. But right now is not the time to be brave.
This is a 185-mile-an-hour run here, down to a heavy brake zone that is downhill. Herbert had a spectacular crash here during practice, but this is the opening lap, and look, the Zytek already looking down the inside on James Weaver right before the brake zone.
Nicholas Manassian is known as an aggressive driver. Here comes Werner. Werner's not patient. He wants to get past his younger teammate and moves into third straight away. And look who's coming up behind. John Field in fifth.
John Field in the V10 Judd. You just have to hear these cars go by down the front straight just to feel the excitement. The road rumbles, but the Audis have a fight on their hands here. They're in a sandwich.
And look at this. In GTS, the Asemco Celine is leading, but not for too much longer. The four slips on the inside. Ollie Gavin. Now Terry Borchella comes back. These two are former teammates, and they're going hard at it like a sprint race.
Wow, this is just the end of lap one. You have people beginning to outbrake each other. This is unusual in endurance races, but these cars are so fast and so reliable, the drivers are told, unless you hit somebody, drive these things hard.
Ollie Gavin leads the way from Borchella. Can you believe Borchella early?
Well, Borchella up there in turn 3 where he tried to fight his way back, that's a very, very one-at-a-time type situation. You don't want to get in there side by side, and he didn't do so.
For Jeff Giangrandi and the Asemco team, delight, even though it's early, very early in the race. This car got trashed last Sunday. Unfortunately, there was a part failure in the front left. Joao Barbosa had to wrestle it through turn 12 and just glanced the wall, but there was serious damage. The team worked overtime to get it back on track, and they now sit second.
And you're talking trash. Ed hit the concrete wall on the front straight here and literally destroyed the car. They could not even wheel it back to the pit lane. They had to get a crane to hoist it, but they rebuilt almost a totally new car. Let's go back to our GT battle.
Guys, indeed, Derek, that car was very badly damaged. Barbosa did a great job to keep it from being completely destroyed. I just spoke with Jim Bell. He said, obviously, you guys have gotten the car back to where you want it. Yes, it's where we want it to be. I asked him, how hard do you let him go from the beginning? He gave me a little smirk, and he said, Terry needs to have a little bit of fun, guys.
The GT, the little Frenchman, Romain Dumas, leads the way. He won this event last year and would like to do it again. He and Mark Lee have run into trouble the last two races, and that troubled 2014 want to drop that behind him. Dumas leads well.
Surprised he's leading that much already. These GT guys known for being on top of each other the entire event.
Johannes Van Overbeek is second. The Flying Lizard car splits them. Splits the Alex Job racing cars. And Patrick Long for the Racers Group sits fourth. There's the Flying Lizard car just cresting the hill behind the Lamborghini as the classes intermingle early.
And these Lamborghinis have been pretty spectacular. There's the Flying Lizard car right there. This is a huge championship fight, so although we see outbreaking with some of these cars here, the people who are in the championship fight need to be just a little bit careful, because one of the Porsche keys to the race is don't trip over anybody, particularly Dorsey in the early stages of a race.
And again, the tires. I mean, if you're going to run this hard this early, this is when the car's in its heaviest. It's on full fuel. You can damage the tires the most right now. You're really wearing the tires hard to run fast now.
And we welcome Team Bucknam Racing back. You can see them now there in their now familiar checkerboard style. And in fact, that is the Miracle Motorsports machine that they are leasing from John Macaluso, no longer running their own car. Chris McMurray starting the car here at Road Atlanta today. They did not run recently, and we're pleased to have them back in the series. So now they start to settle down, and we update you with P1. And look at this, James Weaver, Nicholas Manassian, and the newly crowned double champion, two-time P1 champion, Marco Werner, starting to make inroads. And look at this, John Field has now moved into fourth past the very quick Pierre Kaffer.
Wow, John Fields, who really started off what people thought was a gentleman racer, but you should see him drive this thing, particularly down through here, turn 12. They go up to 170 miles an hour on the run down here, and when you put your foot on the brake, you go down one gear and just hammer the power again to go into a dip and then up this hill. I mean, this is just such a spectacular racetrack for sports cars.
Talked to John, and that car had been destroyed. The tub actually broken and happened repaired. And I asked him, is it as good now as it was before? And he says, you know what? I think I need a new one for next year because in high speed it seems to move around. Derek, you know what that's like at 180 miles an hour when the car's driving you. That's not good.
Well, for John Field, they certainly struggled through the mid-season, as you guys know, with a tub that was damaged. Once they got that fixed, they really had to reset the button in terms of data and all of the setup information. I spoke to John yesterday, and he said we had 3 days of testing here last weekend. We're really starting to get the car back on form, and boy, is he showing it right now.
Certainly is, and we've got a great scrap on our hands in 2 groups of 3 for the first 3 positions, and then 4th back through 6. Look at Jan Lammers coming up in the 20, really starting to apply the pressure to Pierre Kappa, who takes the defensive inside line, heading down into 10A.
And that just shows you, despite the fact that it's 10 hours long, they will still take a defensive line just to put Lammers off, to make him think twice before he tries to attempt maybe an out-braking move. But great to see Lammers in this MG Lola. Ran his own car most of this season. It was a big struggle. Former winner of the Le Mans 24-hour race, really beginning to get to grips and enjoy this little MG Lola. What a flyer this car is.
And talking to these drivers, they say 10 hours is a sprint race. This is no long-distance affair to them.
Well, it's been an impressive start from the Prototype 1 category cars. Pierre Kappa's in the middle of a sandwich at the moment. And incidentally, John Field, it was meant to be a 3-driver team with Michael Duran joining he and Duncan Dayton, the regulars. Michael couldn't make it, and they will do it alone, he and Duncan Dayton. So an extra workload today. But those guys have enjoyed much success here at Road Atlanta, particularly in Petit Le Mans.
And did you see the traffic there? Traffic beginning to play a role already with the leaders, Manassian and Marco Werner. We just caught a glimpse of that. There it is. Look at the traffic jam down the back straight.
Only 5 laps in, and we're into the thick of traffic already.
Wow. In GTS, Terry Borchella has been pushed back to 3rd. It is a Corvette 1-2 as they come through past the Van der Steur prototype. Manassian looking in his mirror, keeping a watchful eye on this man here, the incredibly quick Marco Werner.
This is turn 12. This can be flat out only when you have a good balance. You go through the apex at 146 miles an hour to up to 170 and brake here. There's the concrete patch. Oh, see the Porsche sideways in front of him.
Something new here at Petit Le Mans, not only additional P1 cars for the ADT champion Audi team to fight with, but there's that sister car as well. The first time this year we've seen 2 champion Audis, and so much to talk about here at Road Atlanta.
Gives you a good idea what the downhill looks like when you go through those S's, Derek.
James Weaver, though, still hangs on at the front in a little 4-cylinder engine.
We see James Weaver out front, Derek, but when I spoke to him yesterday, he believed the weakest part of his race would be actually at the beginning. They're running quite a low downforce configuration on that little Lola. It's really going to struggle in the heat of the day. He said when we should come on strong, if we're still there, is towards the end. When we see nighttime, when we start to see the cooler conditions about 6, 7 o'clock tonight, he said the car will start to pick up downforce from the more dense air. We may then be able to go into a slightly softer tire compound as well. We should be flying at the finish.
Just think of the different engines we have. A little 4-cylinder turbocharged leading, a V10, basically like a Formula 1 engine running second, and the turbocharged V8 Audi running third. A great combination here.
A lot of confidence down here in the Zytek pick, that 27 car in International going so well. Now guys, they are on Dunlop tyres. Remember, we got the Michelins on the Audis, we got the Goodyears on James Weaver's car. There's a big tyre battle going on as well. They can only one stint these tyres until it gets cooler, but they are making very good gas mileage on this Zytek engine, so they're very confident here in their very first appearance in America.
And look at this, Marco Werner as they come on the inside of the Peterson Porsche. He's getting hassled there a little bit. He was making ground on Nicholas Manassian. Wow, and the traffic is really coming into play here.
I think Manassian rubbed off that Porsche as he went by, and you saw Marco Werner almost hit the White Lightning car. This is only 4 laps into this race.
This is how tricky Road Atlanta can be. And now look at John Field. He's making inroads on Marco Werner. Field is aggressive right from the get-go. Down into 10A, pressuring the champion.
But again, the defensive line taken by the champion, and that is something a little bit different this early in the race, to be driving that hard and defending like that.
John Field is a little bit faster down these straights. The Audi, however, in the brake zone and in the corners might have a bit of advantage. But if John Field...
Manassian.
He does, in the traffic.
Manassian drops to third. Werner is second. Looking back at the Zytek now, and John Field looking for a way through. Did Manassian get balked?
I believe he did, and he might have made a very good decision not to stick his nose in where he needn't be. But he now has to make sure that the Audi doesn't begin to creep away. But he's caught right up behind James Weaver, who gets slowed with traffic.
Another thing to remember about these cars, the Audi is known to take a punch. It's really good. You see these guys weaving around right now. But the lighter cars, these Dyson cars, the Manassian car, they probably are not as strong in a crash situation when you start rubbing on these Porsches.
This is for the lead here after 8 laps. And it's been all James Weaver for Dyson Racing up front in the Lola AER. But here comes the ADT champion Audi. Werner has shown how good he is in traffic. He got duped on the previous lap with Manassian, but then he just flew through the lap traffic last time round.
And you can see John Field now is in third place. Look at the Audi right up behind Weaver. They crash over the top of the curbs. These cars are strong enough to hit those curves hard. Turn 12, you've got to keep momentum down through here. The Buckland car moves over. John Field is still right behind in the middle of the fight here. Weaver gets a good break in traffic.
This is one of the most thrilling starts for Petit Le Mans I can remember. These guys hard at it. Everyone's still staying in, and they're driving as far and fast as they can. Debris.
Big hunk of debris in the middle of the straightaway, that is. And we're probably going to get a yellow to get. That's a big hunk of inner fender panel or something.
Yeah, so somebody has made contact with somebody there, Brian.
The problem is, you saw how hard the GT cars were running. I talked to Darren Law. Van Overbeck needed to stay close to Dumas. This full course yellow is exactly what they did not need, because the P1 leaders have now split the Flying Lizard car from the Alex Job car that's running up front with Dumas. That will allow Dumas to be waved around, back around. He will get almost a lap on his competitors. They did not want to see this early in the race.
Wow.
Dorsey, back to your Porsche key of the race. Tire management. Will stint these tires, so you see what he did there. He slowed the field down as soon as he could, because he knows the Michelins on those Audis can go 2 stints much easier than James can.
And I saw Marco Werner put his arm up in the air to let the drivers behind him also know, hey, we're going to slow this thing down. And of course the yellow is out now. They're going to clean that debris up. But I saw the 16, James Weaver, hit a piece of that debris on the back straightaway.
I'd like to thank Porsche for bringing us this initial hour with limited commercial interruptions. However, we will make the most of this first full course yellow to take a break, and it's the national debut of Porsche's new short. Enjoy this. And here is the 2005 schedule. As always, we will kick it off here on Speed Channel with the 12 hours of Sebring. Looking forward to that one. And then, of course, a few early on, there's a new extended deal with Speed and CBS Sports. So things looking very encouraging and positive for the American Le Mans Series 2005 and beyond. And you'll notice that there will be 2 visits to the Road Atlanta circuit. I can tell you the pace car has pulled off the circuit. Let's get ready to roll this time. Has Marco Werner got anything for James Weaver up front? We'll find out. It's the 2 ADT champion Audis chasing the Dyson Lola.
And the reason they get on the radio to Weaver and says green, 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 he cannot see the flagman, and he's told to go in case those Audis leapfrog him at such a critical time.
And they were looking to leapfrog him, I can tell you that much. They really had a run going.
Weaver, Werner, Kaffer, Manassian, and Jan Lammers, the top 5. The Dyson cars book in that top 5 with all of those cars prototype 1. The lead P2 car is in 6th. Werner has a look on the inside. He's not close enough.
Not close enough, but historically, I think he knows that MG Lola has been a little bit fragile. See, the brakes only closes right up behind James Weaver, but down this long straight, look at Weaver pull away. Little 2-liter, 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. Weaver looks over, looks in the mirror to see where he is, sees that he has about 2 or 3 car lengths, Dorsey. And that's a comfort zone when you get down the hill to this brake zone.
And you see what they're doing right now. It looks like they're kind of weaving around, or they're trying to set someone up for a pass. They're not doing that at all. What they're doing is being defensive about the air on the front of the cars. We've seen cars fly here before, take off, and right there is where they do it. It's where if you're up behind someone on that little rise right there, you can get very light. These guys are already being defensive about it.
Actually, you talk about flying. Johnny Herbert had a crash in practice when they believed that Audi took off in the brake zone on that downhill run, which we've never seen an incident before. There's no video evidence of it, but they do realize that when you pop out from behind a car that you're following closely, these sports cars might still tend to lift the nose and flip themselves backwards.
Yeah, and that's what I'm seeing right now. These drivers, when they come onto that straightaway, you saw James Weaver move off to the one side. We'll see right here again. Nobody's really slipstreaming up the back of someone on that big straightaway. That's the reason why.
Well, we've seen plenty of flips here at Road Atlanta over the years. Let's take a look at some of them. Spectacular vision if you have not seen this before. The first back in 1998. Stefan Ortelli in the Porsche. And that was a scary, scary moment. If that wasn't enough, take a look at this. American Bill Aublin in the V12 LMR back in 2000. Complete flip, lands on his wheels, and Bill walked away.
And we saw this also back in the days of the Can-Am, so it's nothing new. And these guys are well aware when they go down that straightaway not to get in that dirty air.
James Weaver still leads Werner. Here he is, Pierre Caffa, the former superstar of the Porsche Super Cup and Carrera Cup. And he has had the year of his life. Teamed with Alan McNish in the Le Mans Endurance Series over in Europe. He came here, he won Sebring at his first attempt, and he is a real star of the future.
And what they say about him is they just have to try and keep a lid on his aggression. He is very fast, very aggressive, sometimes makes moves that he's looking to get away with. His bravery suddenly takes over. If they can just calm him down and slow him down a little bit, I mean, he could be virtually unbeatable, because remember, the people he's racing against, he's one of the new young guns. When you have a Johnny Herbert, J.J. Leto, Marco Werner, they're on the high end of the age limit of racing drivers, so these new guys eventually could take over.
Let's talk about GTS. The battle rages between the two famous yellow C5Rs. And it is Ron Fellows, the two-time and defending GTS champion, who leads the way from Oliver Gavin. There's less than a second between these two beautiful cars. They are at the head of the GTS field. Third is still Terry Borchella in the Asemco Ferrari. Fourth is Jean-Philippe Belloc in the Car Sport Viper. And fifth is the first of the Lamborghinis with Peter Cox.
These things, Dorsey, absolutely fly down the straight here. I mean, they are almost as quick as some of the P1 cars. These are the P2 cars here. Look at the Corvettes. In fact, they're faster than the P2 cars down this long straight.
And these Corvettes, Derek, have been very concerned about these concrete patches that have been inlaid. Certainly in turn one, a heavy loading there. It's really having an effect on their tire strategy today. Typically what they run are splits, meaning softer tires on the right side, harder tires on the left side of the car. And what they're having to do, because of the real heavy loading, the fact they don't have a lot of grip, they're seeing excessive tire temperature in the left front. So during this first round of pit stops, we expect to see 3 different tire compounds going on the 4 corners of the car. So that's what Donnie Wilson and the boys at Michelin are trying to figure out right now.
Of course, that left front tire that they're talking about having excessive tire temperature and pressure, that's because of these really long, hard right-hand corners. And I'm talking about turn 12 and turn 1 in particular, where you really lay over on that front tire and grind it down into the racetrack.
There is the Prototype 2 class leading car right there, center of your screen. Clint Field, he won his class at Le Mans this year. Thrilling stuff for the young man from Ohio. Of course, that's his dad that we were talking about earlier. And here's the man who has a championship at stake right here today. Englishman Ian James, who of course now lives here in America and has done for some time. And he is enjoying his best year of his professional racing career. That beautiful new Courage, Eve Courage, is here, along with his staff, overseeing that program, as was the case at Road America a month ago. They won there, they put it on pole. Thrilling stuff. And the 63, Terry Borchella, teamed with the regular Johnny Molam, and they welcome into that car this weekend, Joao Barbosa, who's done a nice job. Meanwhile, at the front, traffic jam. Look at this. It's the 2 Dysons, the 2 champion Audis, and the DBA Zytek going hard at it. 5 Prototype 1 cars fighting for position.
And this is an awesome fight here. Jan Lammers, who is not that familiar with this car, happy to hang on here and watch the whole thing unfold. But James Weaver still has about 3 car lengths, Dorsey, as he accelerates. Look at Lammers, have a look down the inside. That's a brave move.
Yes, it was a brave move indeed. Not quite there, though. You saw how all of them were moving around right there because of, again, that air, dirty air off those cars. These guys start moving out of that to get into the clean air.
The blue and white car at the front of the field. This one here is sports car legend James Weaver. The 2 white Audis. It's Werner first from Kappa, then that blue Zytek. Look at this. Weaver switches from one side to the other. Werner thinks about it on the inside. Kappa defending from Manassian, and Lammers is in the box seat to watch this all happen.
Marco Werner is trying to put pressure on Weaver. He knows under sheer acceleration he cannot stick with the MG Lola. He's got to put pressure on him. I don't know whether James Weaver can be pressured into a mistake. He's 50 years old, he's as fast as ever, and he just doesn't make mistakes in racing cars. He is that good. Believe it or not, he is 18 years driving for the Dyson racing team. Racing teams don't last 18 years. No. Never mind a driver stay with the team that long.
And what's amazing about James, as I drove for that team and he was my teammate, is that he has never lost his desire to win. The guy is as strong in his skill right now as ever in his life.
The top 5 have opened up a little bit. We need to squeeze in a quick break from Road Atlanta. We will be back shortly. The pressure is on at the front. Can he hang on? This is a replay earlier with Marco Werner applying the pressure to James Weaver. Out of the race saw poleman James Weaver take the lead from Nicholas Manassian, Pierre Kappa and Marco Werner. It would not stay that way for long. Werner put the move on his teammate Kappa early down in turn 10A. Manassian was trying to go with James Weaver, and John Field was electrifying early on in his Intersport Lola as they came up the traffic early. Terry Borchella made a sensational start in the Asemco Celine. Then the Corvettes came back and fought hard. There was a yellow, the early yellow on lap 9 came out after contact between John Field and the Certec Ferrari. That forced John Field to bring his Intersport machine in for repair, as you can see. Huge crash between Manuel Matos and Mike Lewis. Both drivers, well, we know for sure Mike Lewis was taken to the infield care centre. His Riley and Scott done for the day, as you can see. There was a thrilling battle at the front between Marco Werner and James Weaver, switching sides of the track. The German putting plenty of pressure on the Brit, and they almost touched. It was a near miss. Marco Werner narrowly avoiding James Weaver. Then traffic came into play in the name of Christophe Bouchou, and it was tight going up the top of the hill, but he got there. And then the most recent blow to Dyson's chances, gearbox issues for the 16. It was a frantic first hour despite those 2 yellows, and we now see Marco Werner and Pierre Kappa 1 and 2 for ADT champion Audi. You saw those terrible looking images of Mike Lewis's Riley and Scott. Brian, you have more on the condition of Mike.
Lee, I just spoke with Tommy Dries. He said Michael is okay. He's in the medical center over there, but he's got a real sore shoulder blade and some sore ribs in the back. And after seeing the impact, that is absolutely miraculous that is all he has. But our good friend Michael Lewis sounds like he will be okay. Lee?
Pleasing to hear. Carl, what do you have?
Well, we have James Weaver and James, a sensational opening stint there, really battling out for the lead. What is the problem with the 16 car right now?
The main problem is it's stopped in the pits, which is, unfortunately, one of his favourite occupations at the moment. It looks like I've had a gearbox problem, and he got jammed in 5th gear, but the gearbox temperature was climbing. We're trying to address that. We also had a sensor go down on the engine, so it went full rich. So we've definitely fixed that, so we should be back up to speed again after this pit stop.
Well, as we say that, puts as far as the car, getting the back out there. Now, you run the paddle shift. Can you switch back to the normal shifting mechanism if needed?
Yeah, the gear lever's still in there. We've just done that. So as long as there's no problem inside the gearbox, we should be all right.
Carol's lost a few laps here, but Butch Litziger is back under power. Let's see if he still has difficulties, Lee.
Endurance sports car racing is all about staying in the race. This is a 10-hour, 1,000-mile race, and your 4 class leaders look like this. Hey, email us at speedtv.com. Go on there, follow the link. We'd like to hear your questions. Send Dorsey and Derek a line.
And the final standings from the Petit Le Mans from Road Atlanta. In P1, it was once again J.J. Leto and Marco Venner in their Audi R8, taking the race win 3 laps ahead of the sister car driven by Johnny Herbert and Pierre Caffer. Rounding out the podium in P1 were Chris Dyson and Jan Lammers in their Lola AER. In the GTS class, it was Olivier Gavin, Olivier Beretta, and Jag Magnussen winning in the Corvette ahead of teammates Ron Fellows, Johnny O'Connell, and Italian Max Pappas. In P2, it was Clint Field and Robin Liddell with Mika Dunno. In GT, it was once again Timo Bergmeister and Sasha Mana taking the honors ahead of Roman Dumas, Mark Lieb, and Wolf Hensler. After the break, we'll be sending you to the final round of the year in Laguna Seca, California. 4 hours of endurance racing on the world-famous Laguna Seca circuit.
Never missed up one sign. Next time, but not this time. Even though I know, I don't wanna know.
Welcome to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca for the Audi Sports Car Championship Round 9, the final round of the American Le Mans Series 2004. It's the American Le Mans Radio Network teamed up with MotorsTV across the UK and Europe once again and around the circuit here on 8:40 AM 454 on your scanner. If you have just joined us, your timing is impeccable as the pace car has pulled off and Nick Manassian with the pole position for the DBA Creation Zytek machine is coming up to see the green flag with the Jean-Richard Roch there. Green, and oh, great start by Manassian. And look at the two Dysons side by side as we go down to the Andretti hairpin. For the first time, Manassian has done what he wanted to do and made that little bit of a break. He knew his car was good on the brakes there.
Oh, some contact, and there goes one of the Audis goes around at the exit of turn number 2.
It's a 2 car.
The number 2 car, indeed. The 2 machine has gone around at the exit of turn number 2. Pierre Caffer spins the car, has now got the car
dead
on the
last
way once again, and he is dead last. Some contact with one of the Dyson cars. That's just a guess.
Yeah, that is the blue engine cowling of the number 2 car right now at the back of the field. Meanwhile, back at the front of the field, going up the hill already. A picture-perfect start for the DBA Creation Zytek. The Autosport Eve machine. J.J. Leto in second place, down the rear hull straight, up the rear hull straight, should I say, into that tight, very, very tight corkscrew. And Nick Manassian just riding the brakes, getting the brakes nice and warm on the DBA as they charge down the hill. Now, what happens in that pack? Was it a push or not? Very difficult to say. It was the 16 car that was right up behind him. Great job by everyone else to avoid the incident. Look at the... Yes, it was a touch, no doubt about it. And it was the 20 car, my apologies.
Yeah.
So it was... Is that Wallace in with the wheel of that? Chris Dyson.
Chris Dyson, I believe.
Yeah, Chris Dyson at the wheel of that one. And, well, that's throwing the cat among the pigeons. So it's Creation Autosportive Zytek.
No, your guess was right. It was Andy Wallace. I'm sorry.
That's the voice of Jim Martin alongside me in the booth for the American Le Mans Series. Graham Tyler you'll hear from the pits in a little while. So 3 different cars in the first 3 positions of P1. It's Creation Autosport Eve and Zytek. Very, very noisy as the whole field goes through. Then it's the Audi of the champions-elect, J.J. Leto, in the car at the moment, the 38 car. There he is going up the hill. And Butch Leitzinger in third in the 16 Dyson. Then John Field in the 37 in a sport car, a little further back down the field. Chris Dyson in the 20 car of that incident. In GTS, Olivier Beretta confirms his pole position and leads GTS at the moment. Meantime, in P2, remember that category is still to be decided, and Jeff Bucknam leads for Miracle Motorsport after the conflagration in the midfield. Not seeing that at the moment, but the 56 car of Jeff Bucknam leads from in second Clint Field. Where's the 10 car? Ian James has dropped down to 14th overall because there is Ian James just going up to the top of the corkscrew. And Ian had to check up very, very hard indeed in that first corner incident. Leaders going through, and the Audi begins to close on Nick Manassian, who leads it on lap number 3 now. And remember, we will race into darkness here for the first time ever at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. 4 hours, a timed race. J.J. Leto charging on through turn number 4 and starts to climb the hill again. The left-hander at turn 5 ahead of him, Nick Manassian. Just must be so happy. Ian Bickerton, I know, from the Creation Autosport Eve team. He's back at home in England. He wishes he was here. And we've had some text messages from Ian, and he'll be jumping up and down, notwithstanding the fact that it's just after midnight on Sunday morning, early hours of Sunday morning in the UK. P2, a surprise leader in P2, and there is the Buckingham car after that incident which has seen the second Audi get pushed to the back of the field.
And the second Audi's just about to go by him now.
Wow.
And he's driving like a bandit out there. He's driving like he stole it, to be really honest. He's doing a heck of a job, and it looks like Pierre Capper is doing everything he can to pick up those spots. He picked up 7 spots on his first lap. So he's not taking this one lying down by any stretch.
It's Pierre Capper, I think, that's in the car. I think we said that before.
Yep.
It's Herbert, sorry, in 2, not Capper.
Oh, quite right. Yes, it is Johnny Herbert in the 2 car, and it was Chris Dyson in the 20 car, and is usually the case if there's an incident on the racetrack that looks as if it may have involved some kind of contact. The race officials went over the videotapes, and as often as not, we've seen people have their hands slapped, serve some kind of a penalty for being involved in avoidable contact. The race officials took a real close look at the videotape and had a small discussion, and as I understand it, they've determined that it was a racing incident. So this one's going to go on. Everybody was in pretty close proximity, and nobody really had a chance to get away from anybody. A racing incident, turn number 2, no penalties.
Timo Bernhard there leading GT at the moment, and that's good news for his championship challenge, as he only needs to finish 6th or better to confirm himself as ALMS champion on his own, because Jörg Bergmeister, of course, was a little unwell at Sebring, so hasn't done exactly the same amount of races as Timo. So GTS led by Olivier Beretta, P2 led by the 56 Miracle Buckingham car, Jeff Buckingham at the lead, at the wheel, and Timo Bernhard with Nick Manassian leading the race overall here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Let's check in with Graham Tyler in the pit lane for the first time in this race. Graham, a very eventful opening couple of laps.
Yes, exciting out on the track there. One of the things that will be concerning the teams later is what happens when the sun goes down and the temperatures change, and how that affects the handling of the cars. Let's start with the temperatures as they are now. At the start of the race, we had an air temperature, a very comfortable 72 degrees, up a little on this morning, and then the track temperature has risen significantly. This morning it was at 71 degrees, now it's up just under 90, 89 degrees on the track.
It's Graham Tyler down there in the pit lane for the American Le Mans Radio Network and MotorsTV together again for the finale, the last round of 9 of the American Le Mans Series, and what a great schedule we have for next year. The ACO having decided to move practice day for Le Mans 24 just 2 weeks before the big race. That means we've squeezed not 1 but 2 races in between Sebring and Le Mans this year. And I have heard rumours that the Le Mans Endurance Series calendar will not clash with any of the ALMS races next year. Now, whether they're far enough away for people to be able to do both series is a different matter. We'll talk a little more about that, I'm sure, in the next 3 hours and 53 minutes. Chevy Corvette leading as ever in the GTS category. That's the red sunstrip that you can see on the TV screens of Ron Fellows and Johnny O'Connell. Easy way to remember, Johnny Red hair, has a red sunstrip. That's the number 3 car. And we'll keep our ears peeled thanks to racing radios. Well, you can't say that sports car racing is dull. 4-hour race coming down to possibly a 5 or 6 lap sprint at the end of racing. And
among other things, the officials have asked the starter to let everybody know officially when the green flag comes out, because if somebody tries to pass before, it's going to inspire them.
Green flag.
We're racing again.
We are racing again as they pick up pace, and it's Pierre Caffer who's gone through ahead of the field. Oh, and there's lots of spray out there now. Looking out to my right-hand side down towards the Andretti hairpins. You can't believe how difficult conditions must be. Think about it when you've had a long, hot, dry summer, and then all of a sudden it rains. It's like driving on ice in Florida. They call it Florida ice when there's a big downpour, and the surface of the road, which has been dry for so long, is treacherous, and we've got pools of water in places on this track. First time I came here in 1998, we had rivers running across this circuit, because that's how quickly things can change here. Well, good news for Pierre Caffer, who is still out there, and we'll stay with this to the finish now, with the checkered flag being ready for 6 minutes time, just over 6 minutes time. The number 2 car, Pierre Caffer, has completed 164 laps and has gone through ahead of his teammate. And at the moment, Marco Werner has not been scored on the lead lap as he's gone through that time. So there's all kinds of confusion in the timing and scoring at the moment. I wonder that if they lost the lap when they pitted before they were picked up by the pace car. And Graham Tyler.
Yes, because when Werner came in, there were 2 lights illuminated on the car, so they'd already been passed for that position as they came in.
Caffer was at the back of the queue and Werner was at the front, so Werner was almost a full lap back. He got caught up by the pace car, and we've got a penalty on the 56 car, which
second place car in prototype 2.
Yeah.
It came into pit lane to work on the car while the pit lane was closed.
Okay, so let's just get this right for everybody then. When the pace car came out, the leader, the 38 car, came into the pits just a moment before the pace car came out, having given up the lead to come into the pits. The pace car comes out, picks up Pierre Caffer as the then leader. Caffer pits when the pits open. Marco Werner is at the front of the queue. Pierre Caffer is at the back, but Caffer has got almost a full lap on his teammate, and that's the situation we are in now with 5 minutes to go. So Pierre Caffer then, as we're looking back at the beautiful start of the race, hope you're getting these pictures with Johnny Herbert being spun around by Chris Dyson right at the start, puts that car right to the back. What a story this is going to be for the number 2 team if Pierre Caffer and Johnny Herbert can drive from back to front of the American Le Mans Series field in the space of 4 hours. Great battle earlier on with the Creation Autosport Eve. Nick Manassian at the wheel, eventually with tyres going away, had to give best to the 38 car of JJ Leto. Stayed tight with him for a while, indeed repassed him for the lead going down into the Andretti hairpin. Then problems for the leader and champions-elect in the P2 category, so Ian James and James Gouet have to spend more time in the pits than they really wanted with that C5. And then disaster for the Zytec powered Creation, as I'm afraid it was something as simple as a throttle that let them down. Engine overheating and the throttle linkage giving up on them. The yellow train continued its pace for GM Chevy Corvette. 37 went out in a pile of smoke, with John Field getting the car off to the side of the circuit. And back live we have rain, big rain here. Laguna Seca perhaps, but not at the moment. It is not Seca at all.
Oh, not at all.
Jim Martin, I hope you've got a raincoat, because you've got to do the ceremonies
I'm going to get damp like everybody else. There's no doubt about it.
Jim, thanks very much for a great season.
Thank you very much again.
Everyone, and you'll hear Jim Martin's dulcet tones from the podium. And just in the left-hand side of the screen there, for those of you near a screen, let's have a look on board. There's the pace car ahead. This is the 38 car, remember, coming into turn number 11. Gets on the gas a little bit early, loops it. And that has been very, very costly indeed. Trouble for the number 10 P2 car as well, with the car stranded out on the circuit. And that car will not take the checkered flag. James Gouet just losing. Did he get a little bit of a push there from that Porsche behind him? But that car has not moved from that spot at turn number 5 since then, and there it is in darkness at the moment as we are now inside the last couple of minutes. It'll be white flag next time around for the leader wherever he is on the circuit, and I have to tell you, I have no idea at the moment. Ollie Gavin has taken 2.5 seconds out of Johnny O'Connell and now is just 1.3 seconds behind in the battle for the GTS lead. As we fired up the searchlights just in front of me, Ian James can smile now because he may well yet be the champion as Pierre Caffer goes through. Weiss flag next time around for Pierre Caffer. He's just got underneath us right now. I'll try and keep an eye on him as he goes through. Marco Werner will be kicking himself in second place. Butch Leitzinger in third. No penalties applied for any of the alleged yellow flag infringements by the Audis. They've looked in once again and proving these cars are built tough. As through the corkscrew for the penultimate time, Pierre Caffer. He's being very careful there. Jamie Davies being an interested spectator in this. You're not using the curbs here, mate, are you?
No, I mean, certainly now in these conditions, it's very slippery now. Even
with wet tyres on?
Even with wet tyres on, yeah. I mean, as soon as you touch paint, it's like ice, and the car will snap before you can blink your eyes. So you have to be very, very careful for that. So, I mean, you just keep off that and make sure that you're very careful on the throttle coming out of the corners.
Thanks to Steve Tarrant, to from CZ Motorsports, Mike Buick, David Chemlick, Robert Koski, and everyone who's emailed in with guesses for our competition in Graham Tyler's trainer test. We'll be giving out the details of who's won it in a little while. As Steve Tarrant, one of the motorsport marshals from the UK. I'll try and find a cloth badge for you, Steve. Remember Steve? He's part of the Audi Sport team as a guest at Silverstone, and I'll do my best for you, mate. Try and pick one up tomorrow as we're watching Pierre Caffer on 168 laps as he goes under the bridge for the final time. This has been all the alarms going off in the broadcast booth to tell us that the 4 hours is up. And is that mine? No, it's not. The time has elapsed, so it will be the final one for Pierre Caffer, who picks his way through the corkscrew for the 169th and final time. Not a bad guess from Hindhoff. I said 68 to 73. 68 to 173. Comes down the hill. Let's see him pick him up then. There's the white lights. Up and down season for Pierre. Didn't win the championship in the Le Mans Endurance Series because the man next to me, Jamie Davies, did with his partner Johnny Herbert. The checkered flag is out. The Peterson White Lightning Porsche pulls over to the side of the road.
Oh, yeah! Good job, boys. Good job. Thanks for everything. The car was perfect. It was really, really perfect.
Pierre Caffer effusive in his praise from the wheel of the number 2 Audi. That's a tough race and a good win, and those guys will be well happy about that, Jamie Davies.
Oh, for sure, yeah, and it's another great result for Audi. I mean, the car's just proved so successful, and it's just awesome to see.
Well, a terrific win for the team of Johnny Herbert and Pierre Caffer at the season finale at Laguna Seca. And that leaves us just a moment to tell you the final standings in all 4 classes. In the P1 class, Marco Werner and J.J. Leto on equal 183 points shared this year's title. James Weaver and Butch Leitzinger also on equal points on 111 come third. In the P2 class, it was Ian James taking the championship for a mere 4 points ahead of James Gu. In GTS, it was Ron Fellows and Johnny O'Connell on equal 179 points, giving Chevrolet the GTS title. Their teammates, Oliver Gavin and Olivia Beretta, came second. And finally, in the GT class, it was Timo Bernhard taking class honors ahead of Johannes van Overbeek and Darren Law. And all that is left to say is a warm thank you from everyone at MotorsTV for watching this 2-hour season review of the American Le Mans Series, and we hope to see you all once again next year for more live coverage of the American Le Mans Series on MotorsTV.